Greg Hughes.
Thank you very much indeed, Rory. See you tomorrow morning. It's the 9 till noon show. It's time for a news update, of course, as always, and it's a good morning for the first time in this programme to Catherine Gaffney.
Good morning, Greg. Gardaí are this morning continuing their questioning of a suspect in the murder of Aisling Murphy. The 23-year-old school teacher was laid to rest yesterday after being attacked and killed while running along the banks of the Grand Canal in Tullamore last Wednesday. The man, aged in his 30s, was arrested at a Dublin hospital yesterday and is being held in Tullamore. Reporter with the Irish Examiner, Liz Dunphy, says that allowing for rest breaks, Gardaí have until this evening to question him.
It's understood that Gardaí have retrieved significant amounts of forensic and DNA evidence throughout the investigation. So that should, prove very useful when it comes to presenting a case to the DPP in order for charges to be brought forward. We'll just have to wait and see.
The Sports Minister says he expects full capacity crowds at the GAA National League and Ireland's Six Nations opening fixtures. Jack Chambers says he is optimistic that COVID restrictions will be lifted in time to allow spectators at full capacity for the games in Croke Park in 10 days' time and at the Aviva on the 5th of February. NPHET meet on Thursday against a backdrop of falling COVID case numbers and calls for a fast reopening of society. Minister Chambers says he expects a decision within days.
All the epidemiological data certainly points to a much reduced impact on our health system. We have a structure and a process around decision making. It will happen in the next 2 to 3 days. Obviously, NPHET will meet on Thursday, and then government will be able to give a signal about what's possible. But look, I think there is optimism within government.
And people in Donegal are being further encouraged to support rural businesses in a special initiative running today. Digi2 Market is running a social media campaign throughout the day with people being asked to use the hashtag rural business as part of the content that they post. The campaign aims to spread awareness about the people, services and products behind businesses in the county and elsewhere. Cahirla of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, says now more than ever, businesses are the lifeblood of the economy in Donegal and they need our support.
I think it's particularly important here in County Donegal, where rural businesses are the lifeblood of our community, and they're going through a particularly tough time for the last 2 years. So I would hope that everybody can call into their local shop, their local cafe, or any local business that means a lot to them, take a photo and promote it on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure to tag it with the hashtag rural business.
Weather now today will be bright with sunny spells and some well scattered showers with temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees. That's it for now. We're back with more at 10. Until then, good morning.
You have one new message. Hi Claire, Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night, and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And it's a very good morning to you on this Wednesday, the 19th of January at 4 minutes past 9. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Right, lots coming up as always, but we want your views, your comments, your suggestions on what to talk about. You WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. SMSs to that number too. If you're outside the Republic, get involved. We are streaming, of course, around the world online on your smart speaker, or indeed for those of you watching on our social media, Facebook and YouTube. You can SMS from outside the country, 00353 8660 25,000. Now, if you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. Caroline has those lines open for you right now. And your comments come into us via comments at highlandradio.com on email. Okay, let's look at the front of the newspapers today. And the Donegal Post tells us that Donegal came to a standstill at 11 a.m. yesterday to observe a minute's silence for young teacher Aisling Murphy, whose funeral was taking place in Offaly on Tuesday morning, and at vigils across Donegal and Ireland over the weekend. People united in grief that such a young and promising life could be cut short. In Ballyshannon, 80-year-old Aoife Sweeney, who's pictured on the front of the paper, captured what many people felt as she helped her dad, Councillor Barry Sweeney, with preparations for a local vigil in making a poster, I suppose you could call it, with Aisling's names on it. On the Inish Times today, poignant tributes have been paid to popular Buncrana man John Kelly. Mr. Kelly's body was discovered lying in a laneway behind a row of houses in Knockalla Drive in Buncrana. Originally from Derry, Mr. Kelly had been living in Buncrana for more than 25 years and had worked as a caretaker years at St. Oran's National School in Cockhill. He's survived by his wife Anita and their son Sean and daughter Anna, and our thoughts very much with them, of course. Hundreds of people took part in a vigil for Mr. Kelly at St. Oran's School on Saturday night. A book of condolence was opened in his memory. Very difficult times, isn't it, around the country. The Irish Times, just for a national view on, and maybe now's not the time to discuss this, but I just wonder if we should move away from cameras being put into people's faces at the most difficult time for them. There's some pictures in some of the papers today of people grieving, you know, you can see they're incredibly emotional. And I just wonder if, long lenses and tight shots of their faces at this most difficult time for them, if we've not moved past a little bit. And, obviously there's a great interest in this story, and there's a lovely picture on the front of the Irish Times today, I think, which captures the incredible sadness and loss, but also people coming out in great numbers to pay their respects. But there are other pictures whereby, it is tight shots on people's faces as they are clearly very, very upset. And I just think in this day and age, they should be allowed the privacy to grieve in peace without it being displayed for arguably entertainment in newspapers. But anyway, the Irish Times tells us that in the middle of the unimaginable, at a minor intersection in rural Irish village, bewildered reality and a crushing sadness merged in memory of a shining spirit cruelly cut short. Mourners gathered from early at this little junction where Idle Corner Road runs down to the main street, ending at the gates of St. Bridget's Church in Mount Bolus. They waited quietly in the January cold and intermittent morning rain, still coming to terms with the awful circumstances which brought them to this crossroads in County Offaly. And there's more on that story in later papers. The Irish Independent, like all papers, covers the fact that restrictions are set to be eased, perhaps not this weekend, but certainly from the end of next week, though why not this weekend? But anyway, Tánaiste Leo Varadkar hopes all COVID-19 restrictions, including the use of COVID passes, which are incredibly controversial, of course, for pubs and restaurants, they can be lifted at least, by the end of March. It comes as the prospect has been raised of full capacity crowds at GEA League matches and the upcoming Six Nations. You've just heard from Junior Sports Minister Jack Chambers on that issue. But there is a sense that NPHET will meet tomorrow. The government's meeting today. The cabinet's meeting today. And we want all the boys and girls heading back to the Dáil after their Christmas holidays. We hope they have a good day. But they are meeting today to discuss how the reopening will go. NPHET will confirm tomorrow, and they'll either meet on Friday or next Tuesday. I think that there's a strong argument to lift restrictions and give businesses a good weekend this weekend, but they'll probably leave it to the end of next week. You're looking at the 8 p.m. curfew going, and cinemas and theatres being able to operate close to normal again. And hopefully then by the end of March, they're talking about getting rid of those controversial COVID passes, though they will still be required long beyond the end of March for international travel. In the Mail today, a final progress review of the cervical check screening programme is about to begin. Minister for Health Stephen Donnelly has confirmed. Following his hard-hitting report in 2018 into the cervical check scandal, Dr Gabriel Scally was called on by then Health Minister Simon Harris to report on and review the necessary changes. Minister Donnelly said significant progress has been made in implementing Dr Scally's recommendations since his last progress report in April 2020. On to the Irish Daily Star now, and Andrew, the prince in England, his ex-girlfriend Victoria Harvey said child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell used her as bait for paedophile Jeffrey Epstein's friends. Miss Harvey, who is the daughter of the 8th Marquis of Bristol, revealed how they first met the pair in 20 years ago when she was known as London's hottest it girl. Appearing on last night's Shell Shock ITV documentary Ghislaine, Prince Andrew and the Paedophile, she described Maxwell and Epstein as a double act like Batman and Robin. She said Jeffrey was really the front man and Ghislaine was the accomplice. It was kind of like a Batman and Robin, and they were a double act. I don't think Jeffrey could have done it without Ghislaine. She said, I think that's Epstein, kind of sat back and waited for her to go fishing and find however many girls we needed, to entertain his friends. I was pretty much used to that. A lot of people saw what was going on and didn't step up. Listening to some of the testimony of those young girls, how they were treated, what they were subjected to, unbelievable. The Irish Daily Mirror, Gardaí last night interrogated a father of 5, though he's described as a father of 3 in other newspapers, over the murder of Aisling Murphy after his discharge from hospital. The 31-year-old was arrested at St James in Dublin while the funeral of the 23-year-old teacher was taking place in County Offaly. She's described as tragic. She's not tragic, but what happened to her was. I never get that use of words. She's far from tragic. She's an amazing person, but what happened to her was absolutely tragic. Mourners wept as tributes were paid, and grief-stricken boyfriend Ryan Casey described Aisling as his soulmate in a heartbreaking graveside tribute. And as I say, the close-up images of people in mourning and grieving are featured in that paper and the other tabloids as well this morning. And in the Sun today, Dublin rocker Bono was revealed listening to his own music makes him scarlet, and he hates his band's name. The U2 hitmaker 61 says that he cringes when his hits are played on the radio and he struggles to listen to his own voice. He said, the one I can listen to the most is Miss Sarajevo with Luciano Pavarotti. Genuinely, most of the other ones make me cringe a little bit. Okay, so we're in the same boat. Me and he. Okay, right. And finally, it's not in the papers, but it's featured in the news, and it's a controversial one, because there's proposals in County Kerry to ban dogs and horses from beaches, and this is, and I'll read a bit to you, this is so as to retain their blue flag status and to meet strong bathing standards and what have you. But it would mean dogs and horses being gone from Kerry beaches. Is that a fair enough payoff? Obviously these are... what use are beaches, especially for the likes of us in Donegal, with more beaches than anywhere? If you can't use them, there has to be enough space, does there not, for dogs and horses? Would that be for them not to be able to be used by people? Is that more important than blue flag status, or the other way around? Which is more important, them actually being our local natural amenities for everyone, or them having blue flag status? But a proposal to ban dogs and horses from beaches in Kerry to comply with international guidelines on the annual Blue Flag Bathing Award is meeting with strong reaction. However, as with local authorities, other ones, it's now being asked to implement the Blue Flag regulations with regard to domestic animals, which are backed by the World Health Organization. In 2021, Kerry, along with Donegal, has 14 Blue Flag beaches. Now, new draft bylaws out for public consultation now propose no dogs or horses are allowed between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. from the 1st of June to the 15th of September. So we have 14 of these. It's not yet proposed here. I'm not sure if it's likely to be so. But what would you think? Banning dogs and horses from our beaches, our blue flag beaches, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. from the 1st of June to the 15th of September. Is that something that you would strongly object to? Or perhaps maybe it's something that you think could be implemented? We might as well start the conversation now, because it seems almost inevitable that it's going to have to happen at some point, the conversation that is.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas, with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure Main Street, Letterkenny. The big winter sale is now on with great reductions throughout the store. Selected kids clothing reduced to clear. Also Adidas tracksuits for all ages on bmcsports.ie. Men's and women's sports clothing with discounts of up to 40% off. Check out the Brian McCormick's winter sale in store or click on bmcsports.ie.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring, Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. You're welcome to call in and have a look around. Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring 083 091 0707.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
9:17. Now, child benefits should be taxed and the savings ring-fenced to boost early years services. An expert group has been told. A submission by the main employers organisation IBEC recommended that child benefit is taxed for higher income families but kept at the same rate for those on low incomes. Child benefit is €140 a month for children up to 16. It's paid for those up to 18 if they are in full-time education or have a disability and cannot support themselves. Other countries such as the UK have moved towards taxation of child benefit payments above certain thresholds and redirecting the tax take into direct support, says the IBEC submission to the Commission on Taxation and Social Welfare. Now, delighted to welcome onto the programme Senator Mary Siri Kearney, who's Labour's spokesperson on children. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and I'm Fine Gael spokesperson. Crucial difference.
Okay, well, it is quite a significant difference, isn't it? What a start we've had. Let's hope things improve from here. I can't take responsibility for that, but I should know in any case. Senator, though, back to the matters in hand, though. Do we need to look at, would you be against this in the first instance, I wonder? Would you be against the taxation of child benefit for those earning a certain amount of money?
To be honest, yes, bluntly, I would absolutely be opposed to any taxation of child benefit. For a start, it is a universal payment paid to all children in the state. It's €140 per month, as you have said, and you've said it's up to the 16 or 18 if they're in full-time childcare. And how it's spent is at the discretion of parents. So for low-income families, that's a contribution towards.
Oh, you wait for it. You wait for it to buy food or pay heating bills.
Absolutely. But for middle-income families as well, they use it in a variety of ways, including towards their childcare costs. So there is childcare costs for people who are in full-time work up till children are 16.
But is it right, though, then, that something like this, Senator, should sort of be on a sliding scale, going from an essential payment to a luxury almost? Do we not need to look at that, so that if there are those that rely so heavily on it, that we look at that and say, OK, well, this is actually probably to support a child, whereas for others it could be the third level fund, which probably wouldn't be a bad use of it, or it could be, your monthly meal out.
I think that is a more valid argument. To be fair, I absolutely agree with you in that we look at child benefit from that perspective and how it's spent, and put in a lot of research into what it's being spent on, and could there be this sliding scale of payment that is relative to the parents. That's more appropriate. What I have come out against is IBEC's notion that it is taxed for higher or middle higher, or I'm not sure where they're going to hit the threshold, because double income families mean two people are out at work. Even if they're working remotely, they still need childcare and they still need supports. And so the money from child benefit, I don't believe that it is a useful proposition from IBEC, to be fair. I think it would suit them better to concentrate their support for childcare and the burden and the cost of it by urging their employers to be living wage employers, urging their employers to be flexible working, remote working, and to ensure that women in the workplace are supported, because predominantly child benefit is paid to women. And that is the crucial. The department has an impetus and an emphasis on ensuring that it is the mother that is paid it. And there are other arguments around that. Obviously, there are same-sex fathers who find it difficult to access child benefit. So there are things like that that we need to also address. But it is predominantly paid to mothers. And there is a presumption in the IBEC suggestion that women in the home have an access to all money, that there is a background from a domestic violence perspective. There's lots of research there that talks about the control of money. So this is one payment that's paid specifically to women. And I would be absolutely opposed. Just because someone is well-heeled or has that appearance doesn't mean they have control of the finances in the home. And domestic violence goes across all sectors of society. This is one thing they get.
Yeah, and I suppose too there is a tipping point in taxation if that were to happen, whereby there is a swathe of people who are sort of just outside or just above thresholds that actually can't afford to have this taxed. I mean, that we see that right across the taxation system.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And in that, also given the working population in Ireland and the number of people that would receive child benefit, well, if we start means testing and we start discriminating on who gets it and who doesn't get it, one would question that the small cohort who perhaps don't need it is so small, it would be the administrative cost of excluding them in itself would be more costly than the benefit.
I mean, obviously, you are sent a letter, relatively frequently saying whether or not you want to receive the child benefit or you still feel that you're entitled to it or you want it. It would be interesting to see the figures as those who clearly don't need the money continue to take the time out of their day to fill out that form to make sure the money keeps coming to them. I'm not judging them in doing that, but not everyone has to take it. I wonder how many people don't.
And there is no body of research on that, to be honest. Again, that's a really valid point. There is no body of research. And I think IBEC wanted this red circle for childcare. We are on a trajectory of childcare supports. There is an unprecedented level of monies going into childcare. This year alone in Budget 2022 will be a record level of supports. And that is 78 million this year will be the budget. And we'll really see that come to fruition in September of this year, including the back to school allowance increase, things like that to support working families.
Another fundamental flaw kind of really to this proposal is certainly with this current government, we don't ring fence taxes, do we? We don't ring fence the sugar tax, for example, to invest in dealing with the disease of obesity. I'm not sure any extra tax taken from minimum unit pricing for alcohol, though it's not necessarily tax, will be diverted to support, say, for instance, addiction services. We don't do that.
Well, we have seen a rise in the support for addiction services. I'm chair of a drugs task force, so I have been lobbying very clearly for that, and I think that should be aligned. And again, that is a really valid point. It should be ensured, and we see in carbon tax there is a ring fencing. But I think what we need to see more clearly is that where a tax is taken to target a specific measure, like the minimum unit pricing, we need to actually, perhaps that needs to be advertised. This has been purchased, this is being supported from, and this is the where there is a cost, this is the benefit from that, and that you have that evident to everybody.
So if we get down to the nitty gritty of it here, what you think IBEC is doing here really is effectively saying, look over there, rather than taking responsibility themselves. And encouraging their members to pay proper wages, even on-site childcare facilities or what have you. They're saying, right, we don't want to burden our members with that. We think the government should, or the people should pay for it themselves.
I think it's an ill-conceived idea, comparing us to other countries where there is a much larger working population and maybe a much wider scale of incomes. They're looking at that and not actually looking at the reality on the ground in Ireland. I think that what IBEC are doing, it's a low-hanging fruit that's easy for them to pick off. Instead, it would be better for employers. We in Fine Gael we went through, and I'm part of the policy lab. We went through consultation. We had over 2,500 people engage with us on what they wanted in childcare, and there's a move towards this idea of a campus model where you have childcare and facilities on site, aligned to where the workplace is, where remote working hubs are, that we have all of those facilities together so that parents can drop in, parents can participate, where at the moment they're far away from work. Whereas if employers move to a much more flexible working arrangement, and some employers have moved to 4-day weeks, they've moved to other things to ensure that parents feel that level of engagement in their children's lives. And I think that that's where IBEC could concentrate their supports and leave the supporting of childcare to the government, who are on and have been for a number of years now on a very clear trajectory, very positive trajectory.
And you are in government, and you have you are a member of government, sorry, and you have highlighted problems with the system as it relates to the difficulty in some people drawing down this money, amongst them same-sex parents. Or parents of surrogate children as well, I understand. What are you going to do about that?
Well, a memo, I believe part of the memos that's going to Cabinet today is the launch of the Surrogacy Joint Oireachtas Committee, and that will deal with issues like this. The Assisted Human Reproduction Bill is also going to be before Cabinet today, to the best of my knowledge, and that is going to include that to ensure that mothers of surrogate-born children get maternity leave, because they don't. For instance, I am the mother of a surrogate-born child. I didn't get maternity leave. So there are things like that are now.
But those are glaring holes that shouldn't exist, aren't they? I mean, it's. No one should have to campaign or, lobby to sort things like that out. I mean, that's glaring.
Absolutely. Well, I think that there has been a long road to the acceptance of surrogacy as a necessity for some. You have groups like the Irish Families Through Surrogacy, who are women in the main who have had cancer treatments, have had ovarian cancer, have had numbers, and weren't able to carry their own child. So I think a move to the acceptance of surrogacy as being a choice, a medical choice that people go, not one that they would go to first time round, but a medical choice that's there, and then to put in all of the supports. It is complex, so it would be unfair to say that this is straightforward, but ensuring that there is governance over it, that there are supports for families, that gay dads get access to child benefit quickly and readily. I believe all of that. I'm very optimistic that this is the year that's all going to be sorted.
Now, whatever about IBAC suggestions or your suggestions or my suggestions, the problem remains that, there are an awful lot of people listening to this programme that would love to be at work. That want to be back working. Many of them are the women you were advocating on behalf of earlier, but they simply can't because either A, there's no childcare places available, or it's too expensive. So the gap between what they'd be paying someone to mind their child and what they would earn is so small, if not the same, that there's no justification for it. As well, of course, you'd be well aware, you have to have a car here for the most part. You have to have a car. We don't have a very effective public transport system. If you live outside of an urban area, you do need a vehicle. So you'd have to lump that cost in on top as well. So we do have to get more childcare places available, and for it to be more affordable. But at the same time, ensuring that those with their very high education to become childcarers are rewarded for that as well at the same time.
Absolutely. I think that last point of people having childcare as a destination profession, a profession that they feel able to stay in, is really, really important. And this year we will have an employment order that will set terms of employment, rates of pay, that will set all of that for the childcare sector. And the government are supporting all of that. There has been a freeze on childcare fees in order to try and settle the market. provide supports to childcare providers to ensure that they're attracted into the childcare, so that we have that everywhere, that regardless of where you live in Donegal, that you have a place to bring your child to for childcare, that there should be universal access to childcare in every single community. So I think we're seeing unprecedented support and finance into the childcare sector to ensure that will happen.
Okay, I wonder, are people feeding that on the ground, and the people I know aren't, but okay, that's fine. Yeah. Fine Gael, Senator, Mary, Siri Kearney, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it greatly. All right, have a great day. Take care of yourself. Okay, what do you think? 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000, or call 07491 25,000. Back after these messages.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Download our new app today to apply and draw down your loan wherever you are.
Want to accelerate the growth of your new business? Entrepreneurs in Derry City and Strabane District Council areas can now apply for a new Startup Accelerator programme. Eligible participants can avail of free professional support, access to incubation facilities and business grants. The programme is open to businesses who are currently on or have recently completed the Go For It programme. To apply, contact your local enterprise office, Enterprise Northwest or Strabane Enterprise Agency. This project is funded by the UK Government through the UK Community Renewal Scheme.
If you are aged 16 or over, it's time for your COVID-19 vaccine booster. Without one, you're more at risk of serious illness from COVID-19. To get your booster, go to a HSC clinic, book an appointment online, or contact a participating pharmacy. Some GPs are also giving boosters to their patients. For clinics near you, or to book an appointment, go to hsc.ie. From the HSE.
So Good Juice is an award-winning, naturally homegrown juice shot. Based in the Northwest, our 100% organic juice offers a choice of 3 key ingredients. Wheatgrass, helping your immune system. Turmeric and ginger works effectively as an anti-inflammatory. Beetroot and ginger improves blood flow and reduces blood pressure. And they're all great for boosting energy. Available in Boggs Butchers Malin, Joyce's Centra Clonmany, McColgan's Muff and Watson's Butchers St Johnston. So Good Juice. Start something good today.
With everything from pedal and electric ride-ons to go-karts and scooters, there's loads of fun guaranteed all year round at Tinny's Toys. If you've a kid's birthday coming up, Tinny's Toys can help make it special or get snow ready with a sleigh. Visit Tinny's Toys on Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online for express delivery at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, with so much more than just farm toys.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Some of your comments here coming into us this morning. Children's allowance must be applied for, so anyone who genuinely doesn't need it should just not apply for it, which it kind of is. It would be an interesting study to see how many don't. This caller says, I saved my children's allowance all their life, and it paid for their college. If we hadn't have had this fund, there was no way we could have sent them because we fell just outside the bracket of getting the grants. Yeah, indeed. And then there are people, of course, who have to use it for everyday living. Then there are those that can sort of get by without it and can bank it for this exact reason. And then there are those who it really doesn't. It probably goes in and they don't realise it goes in or what they spend it on. Child benefit should be paid to children who turn 18 while they are still in secondary school. Very unfair if it stopped before they finish school. I thought it was. But we've been down that road before, but I thought you can, if they're in full-time education, continue to receive that. Hi, Greg. To your Fine Gael guest, great at talking when out of government. When in government, they defend the rich while attacking the poor with water charges, reducing pension payments and social welfare rates and the minimum wage. Morning. I'd like to highlight the dog dirt issue in Ramelton along the Shoal Road. You need to walk on the road because it is disgusting. The rest of the town is bad, but the Shoal Road is a black spot. So is it so bad in this stretch of Ramelton? And this is in no way to speak negatively of Ramelton, but if there is an issue that we need to look at, you know, we can't bury our heads either. This caller says that the Shoal Road is so bad that you actually have to walk on the road because there's so much dog poo. That's remarkable. But they go on to say the rest of the town is bad, but the Shore Road is a black spot. No doubt when the evenings get brighter, people, it won't be as bad. What is wrong with people? There are no stray dogs, so it's dogs on leads that are doing it. So they're saying, are they? The dog owners, at least some, the minority of course, are using the cover of darkness to avoid picking up the dog's poop. Was disgusted last night at around 8:10 to notice a man lift a large green bag out of his car and plant it at a post along the main road in Creasla. He then drove up a quiet country road. Can you please stop destroying our beautiful county? There are clothes banks for heavy bags of clothes. Also, the number of your waste collector was printed clearly on the bag. No excuse for this. Now, there's a partial number plate here, so if the person who dumped that is listening, they should go out and pick it up again, because this person can pass this information on to the Gardaí and you could get into trouble for it. Hi, I'd like to think it's great. Was it Coldaff? Couldn't walk... Sorry, this is a person that would think it's great if dogs and horses were banned from our beaches at certain times. I think it would be great at Coldaff. You couldn't walk on the beach with owners letting their dogs run off their leads. That's one in favour of that. Another in favour of it. Totally agree with a ban on beaches. So many irresponsible dog owners. Portrush one beach with a dog ban, and it's a pleasure to be on. Okay. Greg, not allowing dogs on beaches is only going to increase dog fouling on streets. If this ban is going to happen, we need to enforce finding dog owners who don't pick up after their pets. That seems to be 3 in favour. I thought, to be honest with you, there would be an absolute outcry at the mere mention of the possibility. Now, this is not proposed for Donegal, but it is for Kerry at this time, of banning dogs and horses from beaches for a big chunk of the day for much of the summer. Greg, I can't wait for the beach law to come in. I can't remember the last time I had a walk on the beach because of my fear of dogs. Okay, so far unanimous. Keep them coming to us. We want a wide range of views, of course. 086 60 25,000 or call 074 91 25,000. Right, Jim Barr is owner of Barr Shop. He joins us. Hiya, Jim.
Good morning.
How are you getting on?
I'm getting on well, thank God.
Okay, good stuff. Tell us now what happened to you.
Yes, well, I'll read the letter here. It's okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Right? Yes, the letter was addressed to Jim. This is a little note to say thank you and sorry for many, many years ago. I stole £10 from you and I pretended my ma and dad gave me a £20 note when they only give me a £10 note. You knew you told me to go and double the check it out with my mother again. I pretended I did, and so you give me the extra £10. I am sure you knew. I am sure you knew your till was wrong, and wrong of a tenner. That day you never mentioned it to me of my parents. Very sorry about that. There is my debt. This is my debt plus interest for the 30 years that's gone by. I would like to thank you for being a pillar of the community and not bringing down or saying anything about my ma and dad. God bless you. Thanks again.
Wow. Well, firstly, do you remember this young person almost 30 years ago disputing the £10 and £20 note with you?
Not at all, because you take it there was just over 200 or nearly 250 houses in Cairnhall, and the point is that, you know, we were only shop. I have that shop now nearly 40 years, and we were only shop there, and everybody was coming on debt. And you take back 30 years, right? Every little penny was counted, and times was hard coming out of, you know, from the 20s or all through Ireland and all that, and it was a big estate. So they were coming on, but many's a time, you know, you always helped out your community, right? And that's why we got so popular. You know what I mean? And everybody came back with everything, you know, whatever they got. So it was appreciation to them and for their business at the same time.
Yeah. And before we go on to talk more about the letter, that I mean, obviously we try and keep it going as much as we can, but that sort of shop of the community, in the community, helping the community, that lenience and all that type of stuff, I just wonder if we're going to lose that, Jim, if we're moving away from that.
Not at all, not as long as I'm here, but I have my family on it now, and they're running it the same way.
Good stuff.
And it's what I correct them if they're going down like the wrong road, but they don't seem to do that.
Mm.
So that's what I always says here, is that you look after the hand at Fiji, full stop.
Yeah. It's a lovely line in it, because in some ways this letter is written beautifully, but it almost as if they're going back to their childhood and writing it. Thank you for being a pillar of the community and not bringing shame on me ma and da. And they talk about how they appreciate the fact that you never mentioned it to them or their parents, even though maybe they feel that at the time you knew. It's just very real, isn't it? And they've genuinely thought about this. This is not something they've just on the crack. This is obviously something that's been on their mind.
That's correct there. And when I opened up the envelope, and inside the envelope was 2 crispy, brand new £20 notes. And I was shocked whenever I get that, because I actually opened the letter, just sitting in front of it, on an ordinary plain envelope, Jim. So I thought it was a Christmas card.
Yeah.
Right, because it happened in the early hours on the 1st of January. And they put it on sometime during the night on the letterbox. Right, so I haven't got a clue. It's a big, I tell you, a big estate. So it could be anybody. May not be even in the community.
They could have. Do you know what? They could have moved away, came back to visit, and just wanted to right that wrong.
That's correct. Aye. So I have no intentions of trying to see who or investigate who did it. But on your program, I would like you to mention that the one thing that Jim would like to do is that someday if you come along, you know where I am, you know how to get me, is that just approach me and say, Jim, I'm the letterman, something like that there.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to meet up with you, take you to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and let's go down memory lane. Just things like that, And
I mean, like an awful lot stays the same, the shop and the service and the ethos, but a very different time back in the early 90s, was it, Jim?
That's correct. It was around 1980 or 1999 or 98 or somewhere.
Mm.
No, and I reckon now they would be around about 45 plus.
Okay. Might be a pint you're taking them for, not a tea, maybe, Jim.
Right. Well,
listen, it's a beautiful story, and I think it would be lovely if you got together and had a chat, and as you say, down memory lane and talk about those time, and maybe even you can, if their mum and dad's not with them, share memories of them. That I think it'd be lovely.
That would be lovely, yes, and I would look forward to that there. It would be nice to meet. But at the same time, I would say that that person is thinking about it himself, and maybe he may find, or she may find, a wee bit of embarrassment with the way that it is done, because at that time, I would have said to him here, go on up the house now and check if your ma what she give you, but I reckon that he just walked around the block, walked around the shop and go back on. My master's here. It was a £20 note,
All right, it is lovely. And you didn't mention it, but I will. Obviously, that you are donating this £40 to charity as well, which is it's a lovely gesture, and it's a lovely story. And as I said, you'd almost want a video, make a program out of you two meeting. I think it would be lovely. But Jim, listen, continued success with Bar Shop for you and for the next generations, and we appreciate you speaking to us and sharing that lovely story with us.
And I appreciate, especially from Highland, I have great mind about Highland, because me and my late wife, we used to always follow your station, go back a long number of years in the old days for the golden oldies and the Saturday night.
Lovely stuff. Great.
That's
more lovely memories for you, I hope, Jim, and I'm sure.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed, Jim.
Thank you very much for your program, and pass it on to that lady who actually phoned me.
Yep, okay, no problem. That's Caroline. Jim Barr there, owner of Bar Shop. What a gentleman. But what a lovely story. Someone, when they were younger, chanced their arm. They were given a tenner to get down to the shop. They said it was 20, and they ran back home to check, in inverted commas, as Jim says. They probably went round the block. They went back and they says, no, Ma gave me 20. And he obviously gifted change of a 20 then. And it's obviously sat in their conscience for a long time, 30 odd years, isn't it? Hard to believe the early 90s is 30 years ago, but anyway. And they paid the 10 back plus 30 interest. And Jim wants to meet them for a cup of tea and catch up and talk about old times. Were you that person? Do you know them? As I say, I just think it's with everything that's going on, it's a beautiful story. And I think a meeting of the two would be absolutely wonderful. 086 60 25,000, that's your WhatsApps and texts, and your calls to 07491 25,000. If you happen to be living in Derry, and we still have this Oysterman or Tyrone more generally, or wherever you are, we still have this ridiculous thing that between two places right beside each other, we have an international dialing code. But be that as it may, 00353 86 60 25,000 for your WhatsApps and texts, or call 00353 7491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Multiple loan payments causing you stress? Why not talk to Letterkenny Credit Union today about a debt consolidation loan?
Did you hear what's going on in that charity?
Sure, the dogs in the street know what's going on there.
Yeah, but has anyone told the charities regulator?
If you hear about a suspected breach of charity law, you can raise your concern with the charities regulator by filling out a simple form online. Let's work together to maintain a vibrant, trusted charity sector. Visit www.charitiesregulator.ie for more information. A message from the Charities Regulator.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years, and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment. All have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Kickstart your new year with Letterkenny Institute of Technology. If you're currently unemployed, looking to enhance your skills, a mature student, a leaving certificate student, or a parent, then Letterkenny IT's Virtual Information Evening is for you. Find out about the CAO, Springboard Plus, postgraduate and flexible online programs on offer. Talk to academic and support staff and explore your options. Discover all that Letterkenny IT has to offer for 2022. Don't miss it. Letterkenny IT's Virtual Information Evening, Wednesday the 19th of January, 5 to 8 p.m. Visit lyit.ie for more information.
Now we welcome on to the programme Richard Ryder, Communications Manager with the Disabled Drivers Association of Ireland. A very good morning to you and thanks for joining us, Richard.
Good morning, Greg, and thanks for having me on.
No, it's our pleasure. Before we talk about these proposals as it relates to finding these parking spaces, do we need to do, or have we done, an audit of the spaces, their availability and how useful they are? You know, I speak to people, say, for instance, in wheelchairs or what have you, and the spaces are there, but they can't use them. They're on the wrong side of the road for getting out of the vehicle in some cases, or there's not enough clearance either side for taking out a wheelchair, for example, or even trying to get out, using a walking aid or what have you. So before we try and and it's a very important issue to talk about finding these spaces, do we need to actually make sure that in our towns and villages that these are actually useful spaces, usable spaces?
Sure, Greg, you make a very good point. It's something that a couple of people have contacted me recently saying, how many spaces are there in the country? And I'm not able to answer the question because we don't know. Simply don't know the answer. And to your second point, don't know whether they're fully useful or not. And that's why I suppose this app, if it were to be rolled out, would be helpful because it sends back real-time information on the usage of a spot, for example. So that the local council might be able to look and say, well, that spot there in the diamond is never used, or maybe that's a bad example, but on say a side street, no one ever uses it. So what's the point having it there? So
but the box is ticked, and we just don't want a box ticking exercise. We need these spaces usable and in the right places and being used frequently. Exactly. Yeah, okay.
Correct. No, exactly. So no, you make a very good point, and it's something that we should look at getting some funding to doing that, or see would there be an organisation that might help us, because this has been going on for years and it's not something that's ever been looked at. So yeah, no, you make a very good point, and as I say, this would go a long way to maybe, if there was a sensor in the ground with all the, we'd know how many are there first of all, and then we'd know what kind of usage they were having.
Because I find it quite, I don't want to labour the point either, Richard, but I find it quite sickening to speak to people and they say, no, I can't go there because I can't use that space. Yeah. Or that space is not usable, and, I'm looking at it and it's sitting there and it's empty and there's a few of them.
Yeah. And you know what why that is? That's because the person or whoever's putting it in have no idea what they're told to put a space there, and they haven't actually, asked anybody with a disability to come and say, a disability officer, for example, to come and look and say, well, that wouldn't work because there's a path there, or because there's not enough room. And if the person opens the ramp out onto the road, they're going to be coming down on their wheelchair onto oncoming traffic. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, Joanna Reardon, the sports journalist, she made that very point in one of our releases there recently. She's scared the living daylights out of her a few times, So, yeah, it's something that needs to be looked at.
And those who are found, repeatedly to park in these spaces, if they're able-bodied, maybe part of their punishment should be to try and get in and out of a vehicle themselves, not using, say, for instance, their legs, or trying to get a wheelchair out and all of that. Maybe then they might have an understanding, a lived experience of the reality.
Correct, and that's exactly it. Okay. I've been on your show before talking about that. That's our biggest bugbear of our members, and finding a space is probably the second biggest. So
exactly right. Okay, but anyway, those are things that are ongoing and can be looked at. But the reason we invited you onto the program is the proposal for county councils to introduce an app that will help disabled drivers or drivers with a disability find nearby and available parking spots. It shouldn't have to be called for, but here we are. How would this work as far as you would see, Richard?
Sure. Okay. Well, it's called the CDA Space Finder app. And when a company called Park Manage, an Irish company, approached me a couple of years ago and said, explained the idea to me. It only took 2 minutes, and I said, you know what, that's a wonderful idea. And Disabled Drivers Association would love to back it and love to get involved. So, look, I suppose simply the way it works is if the local county council were to get involved, what they need to do is they need to put a little sensor in the ground. Each one takes about 5 minutes. You drill a hole, drop a sensor into the ground, and that goes live straight away and starts to feed back information to, the county council or wherever the hub is on usage of the spot. So first of all, as I say, the sensor has to be put into the ground. Like in Limerick, they have 40 of them at the moment running. They're working. People can open up the app and take, for example, somebody's heading into town and they want to go to the Diamond, for example, to the bank. They say, well, okay, let's have a look. And up comes the app, shows all the spots that are available. The ones that are unoccupied are in green. The ones that are occupied are red. Very simple. So you're leaving your house, from outside the town, you're driving along, you say, oh, the one in the Diamond is now full. It's gone red, sugar. Okay, what do I do? Well, look, I go to Main Street. The one is available there outside the post office or whatever. So you go to that and you park. So I suppose what happens, somebody with a disability has to plan their trip into the town. It's not as easy perhaps for myself and yourself. And one of the biggest things they have to think about would be parking. Because I've heard of members have said to me, look, gone into town, drove around for 20 minutes, couldn't find a spot.
Sodded off home. It's so true, and I've seen it. The loop. And you know what? It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it.
And if you do that twice, 3 times, do you bother doing it the third or fourth time?
I'm gonna head home.
Yeah,
because number one, fine, somebody's using it legitimately, and that's fine. Somebody's got a card, but somebody could be using it who's not legitimate. That's another day's story. So,
but in as part of the app, if it is clearly a vehicle that is not that shouldn't be there, is there an option in the existing app to hit a flag this button to report it?
No, that's something I said to the guys. I said, look, down the road, is there a little chip that we could put into the parking card, some sort of a code that talks to it that says, oh, yes, this is somebody has a chip, or if not, it's not a sorry, the person's parking there doesn't have a parking card or a valid one, for example. It could be out of date. It could be stolen. It could be, somebody could be using a dead relative's card, which happens. All these things happen. So absolutely, these things are all open, but not at the moment. At the moment, it just says whether somebody in the space or not. It doesn't say what, doesn't validate who they are. But certainly that's something that can be looked at.
And I mean, you could see an argument for every parking space having one of these and it being used across the board.
Sure.
I mean, and I was thinking before we came on, I didn't know how this would work. It's so simple and so achievable.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, just to make a point, it's if somebody has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in their car, it connects up to that. So it'll like Google Maps talk to you and say where it is and how to get there.
Oh, brilliant! Okay.
If you don't know the town,
this seems to me like a no-brainer. This should be something that is done, at least piloted in one town to show intent. And what it also would say is that to drivers with a disability, it says to them that actually you matter, right? And it matters. And we don't argue about whether the sign is high enough or low enough so people can see it, or whether the image on the ground is faded or not. This is a technological solution that would be quite easily adopted for most. Okay, so you're saying which county council has adopted it, or
Limerick County Council have
fair play to them.
launched it there before Christmas, and it kind of taken off from there. I'm sure you've heard in other parts of the media that every county council is nearly calling for it now. There are rumblings that some are nibbling. I know from just talking to Park Magic, because they're the ones that you need to contact to get this installed, not ourselves. There are county councils looking at it. They've had meetings, and what it comes down to at the end of the day? Money. It comes down to funding, and the county council say, "Yeah, look, we'd love to do this, but you know what? We can't afford it."
That's like it's gobbledygook. We know they can find the money if they want to do this. The money can be found.
Absolutely.
And so I think that smokescreen is out the window now. Yes, if you're talking about building a €7 million visitor centre, fine. Yes, come at that with us. But something like this
proves
the quality.
Works out about €60 per year per sensor to be monitored. That's kind of the money you're talking. So it's not massive money.
In terms of local authorities, that's money down the back of the couch. Right, Richard, listen, thanks for making that so clear and understandable for us. It's greatly appreciated, and hopefully sooner rather than later, if it's not already on the table in Donegal, we need some councillors, because we just need to make sure that people are being represented. Okay, listen, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Right, thank you.
Take care of yourself. That is Richard Ryder, Communications Manager with the Disabled Drivers Association of Ireland. Stay right where you are. We're going to be back with more on the programme after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Thinking of protecting your home or business with a new CCTV or access control system? Be sure to employ a private security authority licensed contractor for quality service and to avoid prosecution. It is now against the law to employ an unlicensed contractor to install or maintain a CCTV or access control system. Unlicensed contractors and their customers face prosecution and fines. For more information and to find a licensed contractor, visit psa-gov.ie.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
All ready for next year? Why not make sure of it with SEAT? Trade up to a 221 SEAT SUV and you'll be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. With the bold new Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seater Tarraco, we're all ready. Are you? Trade up to your 221 SEAT SUV at DMG Motors, Claw Road, Donegal Town. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie/221 for further information.
Number
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
It's 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Catherine Gaffney. The Higher Education Minister says students should get clarity on this year's Leaving Cert in the coming days. Sixth years are planning protests across the country today, demanding a choice between calculated grades and written exams. A meeting of stakeholders will take place tomorrow, which will consider if the hybrid model is an option. Minister Simon Harris says there's a need for students to get an urgent solution.
One that reflects the fact that these students haven't had a normal senior cycle experience, but also one that reflects the fact that last year many students chose to do the written Leaving Cert exams. So I think when we listened to students and listened to stakeholders last year, we arrived at the right solution, and I'd hope we could provide that clarity in the next few days.
Gardaí have until this evening to continue questioning a suspect in Aisling Murphy's murder investigation. The man in his 30s was arrested at a Dublin hospital and is being held in Tullamore. 23-year-old Aisling was laid to rest yesterday after being attacked and killed while running along the Grand Canal in Offaly last Wednesday. Officers must either charge or release the man later today. The issue of violence against women is expected to dominate proceedings during the first day of the new Dáil term. TDs will debate and hear statements on the subject in the wake of the murder of Aisling Murphy. Legislation allowing adopted people access to their birth records will also go before deputies, while COVID restrictions are also likely to be raised. Sinn Féin TD Louise O'Reilly says there are practical actions the government can take to tackle violence against women.
One of the steps that we're calling for is to establish a sexual gender-based violence policy and service implementation unit within the Department of Taoiseach. And we also need to have a disaggregated database of gender-based domestic and sexual abuse, because we don't know the extent of the issue that we're dealing with, because the government simply aren't counting.
A police operation is ongoing this morning in the Gallia Park area of Derry. It's understood that the operation is centred on a white van parked in the residential area. The security alert follows a report of a hijacking in the nearby Bracken Park area of the Gallia estate last night. A number of homes were evacuated in the early hours of this morning, with residents housed in Templemore Sports Complex. The Minister of State for Sport says he expects full capacity crowds at the GAA National League and Ireland's Six Nations opening fixtures. Jack Chambers says he is optimistic that COVID restrictions will be lifted in time to allow spectators at full capacity for the games in Croke Park in 10 days' time and at the Aviva on the 5th of February. NPHET meet on Thursday against a backdrop of falling COVID case numbers and calls for a fast reopening of society. Minister Chambers says he expects a decision within days.
All the epidemiological data certainly points to a much reduced impact on our health system. We have a structure and a process around decision making. It will happen in the next 2 to 3 days. Obviously, NPHET will meet on Thursday, and then government will be able to give a signal about what's possible. But look, I think there is optimism within government.
The importance of the planning service to Inishowen has been highlighted at a municipal district meeting this week, particularly in the context of the mica crisis. Councillor Martin Farron told the meeting that when the COVID crisis is over, it's vital that a full-time planner is returned to Inishowen. He says the centralisation of planning to Lifford a number of years ago has not worked to Inishowen's benefit, and given the number of applications being received locally, it's clear that change is needed.
I've always felt that the Carndonagh Public Service Centre was put there for a purpose, to service the people of Inishowen to the very best of its ability. And I think by taking the likes of the planning service out of Carndonagh, which was done at that time, to centralise it and bring it to Lifford, I think it was a mistake. And I feel now more than ever, I feel that the planning should be coming back to Cairndoney again.
And people in Donegal are being encouraged to support rural businesses in a special initiative running today. Digi2 Market is running a social media campaign throughout the day, with people being asked to use the hashtag rural business as part of the content that they post. The campaign aims to spread awareness about the people, services and products behind businesses in the county and elsewhere. Cahirla of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, says now more than ever, businesses in Donegal need our support.
I think it's particularly important here in County Donegal, where rural businesses are the lifeblood of our community, and they're going through a particularly tough time for the last 2 years. So I would hope that everybody can call into their local shop, their local cafe, or any local business that means a lot to them, take a photo and promote it on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure to tag it with the hashtag rural business.
Weather now. Today will be bright with sunny spells and some well scattered showers with temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees. We're back with the headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for Wednesday morning, the 19th of January. The death has taken place of Jim Deeney, Pier House, Rathmullen. His remains are reposing at his home. The house is private. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed on the Rathmullen Parish webcam. Family flowers only. Donations, if desired, to Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Patsy Devlin, Glenfin Road, Ballybuffet. Reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his late residence tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. The house and funeral will be strictly private to family only, please. The death has taken place of Hubert Doherty, Ballybrack, Greencastle. Hubert's remains are reposing at his home. Family and friends welcome. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only. Donations, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Teresa O'Hagan, late of 81 Main Street, Sion Mills. Removal from Quigley's Funeral Home, Strabane, this afternoon at 1:30 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church, Sion Mills at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be streamed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Mary May Dobson, Ncbi, West Hill, Letterkenny, and formerly of St Johnston, County Donegal. Funeral service today in Conwall Parish Church, Letterkenny, at 12 noon, followed by burial in Gortley Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Irish Cancer Society. And the death has occurred of John Kelly, 15 Knockalla Drive, Buncrana, and formerly Derry. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Removal tomorrow morning at 9:15, going to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana, for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock. Interment immediately afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Cockhill. The house is strictly private to family only on the morning of the funeral. John's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
There's not a minute to lose when you want your home to be as safe as houses. So get safe and save too with a big €40 reward and great value home insurance cover. All it takes is one big click or call. Just visit supervalue.ie/insurance or call 0818 010101 and our SuperValue team will save the day. Now let's get moving. Terms and conditions apply. €40 in rewards includes two €10 off €40 vouchers plus 2,000 real rewards points equivalent to €20. Offer excludes contents-only policies and is valid until 28th of February 2022. This home insurance is underwritten by AXA Insurance DAC. SuperValue Financial Services DAC, trading as SuperValue Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show on this Wednesday, the 19th of January. Right, okay, just to let you know, the Radio Bingo, the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, the Ncbi Bingo, jackpot tomorrow is €8,000 for those of you who play and support the NCBI, and you do a brilliant job in doing so as well and having a bit of fun at the same time. But there is rewards there. Let's go through a wee list of recent daily prize winners and where those books were bought. We'll start with the Apple Green Creaslaw, €600 one there. Cullen's Cockhill, book bought out of there, €800 in someone's bank account. The same amount, €800 one at Clinton's in Tammany. Sweeney's in Termon, someone bought a book and won £1,000 there. These are daily prizes, by the way. Kiernan's in Drumkeen, €1,000 won from a book bought there. Warski's in Ramalton, €1,400 someone won having bought their book there. Another listener won €1,200 having bought their book in Centre in Clonmany. And a very lucky person in the Lifford area, or at least they bought their book in Lifford Dailies XL, or Dailies XL in Lifford. They won €1,800. So your daily prizes, not to mention, of course, the €8,000 prize. And just to let you know, by the way, your books for next week, and anyone can play this at any time, and it is for fun and to support a charity, okay? So play well within your means and for fun. But you're doing so in supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. The bingo books for next week are on sale today, €5 each, so it's €1 to play. And as you've heard just there, there's some great money in there, but as I say, primarily as well, you're having a bit of fun, but supporting the NCBI. So let's see if someone's going to win the big daily cash prize today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday the 19th of January. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S13. It's game number 3. The numbers are 23, 25, 48, 70, 66, 45, 33, 9, 6, and finally 18. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
At Lidl this week, twin packs of peppers are only 49¢. If you're trying to eat healthier this year, they're the perfect way to add flavour and texture to a salad. If you couldn't care less about that, they're a fabulous way to add crunch to a big juicy burger. Whatever you're into, you can't argue with Lidl prices. Lidl, more for you.
Smith's Daleside offer a range of coarse and pelleted feed, including premium munchie ranges for lambs, designed to entice the lamb senses, increasing intakes and maximising performance. Call Smith's Daleside on 074 9171 300.
Ireland's best-selling car of 2021 is the Hyundai Tucson. And now the all-electric Ioniq 5 has proven itself with a host of awards. Ioniq 5 was named German Car of the Year, Auto Express Car of the Year, and European Car of the Year finalist.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 91 22 600.
Backstage Bar and Grill is open for breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. If you are looking for a healthy option this January, we have a great selection of delicious salads, sandwiches and more. We also have a tasty vegan menu. Call Century Complex on 07491 21976 to book your table.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
Exactly 10:15. You're welcome back. Right, now, Milo joins us on the programme. Good morning to you.
Hi, how are you doing?
It's good to speak to you. Right, we were having the conversation a little earlier on about whether or not we need to look at the payment of child benefits. Should it be taxed? Should it be rated to your income or your need? What's your view?
So, actually, hi. First of all, hi to all of the listeners of Highland Radio. Now, my view generally is child benefit actually should not be taxed under any kind of circumstances. As mentioned...
Well, can I ask before you go on to the next point, why would that be a red line as it relates to taxing child benefit for you, Milo?
Well, I do have to say, for example, that my wife and I, we are both working from home. We work for a Canadian company, and we are very, very, very lucky to actually be working from home at all times, no offices included. And we are already paying a huge amount of tax. And a part of that, we are also renting, right? So, I mean, the red line is, like, where do we draw the line? Because
okay, so it's in other words, it would just be another layer of taxation on already heavily taxed people with big outgoings. Exactly. I get that. Right, so further to your point then, do you think it needs to be looked at in some way or other? In other words, those that simply, it's pocket change to them do not receive it, or would you have issues with that as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely, like, every single child should receive same amount, which is 140 euros a month per child. Now, you know how kids are these days. They hear everything from their own parents, right? Now, if one child hears both parents talking among themselves, like, we're going to get taxed for a child benefit, right, for our daughter, for our son, then my child is going to hear that at home. She's going to relate it to, for example, to their friends in school. Then you have that, Pandora box, creating inequality in schools among kids. And then, I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and you have a far greater insight into the taxation system than I have. But if you were to actually tax you make an interesting point. If you were to tax the child benefit payment, it would be unfair. And there are other ways, if we had to raise revenue to make childcare more available. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so... as I said, like IBEC says, the money generated should be used to pay for childcare services, as the high cost of early years childcare, as it would encourage, more people getting into workforce. Now, those are completely, what I said, two separate issues. If we are getting taxed on child benefit, that increases our family costs for childcare, and then some parents and households could struggle with those costs, as we all know childcare costs in Ireland are extremely high, and those bills can rack up to 1,200 euros a month, right? Now, if the Republic of Ireland is actually missing workforce, then states should look into encouraging people getting employed and not being on social benefits for an eternity for, I don't know, just unemployment, reasons. And as I said, this can cause a whole domino effect, such as, let's say, one parent loses their job, right? Then, as I said, like there's a whole what ifs question.
Yeah. It ends up making more problems than it certainly would solve by the sounds of things.
Exactly, and like you mentioned, what if someone is earning, let's say, $500,000 per year, right? Child benefits, it's literally like a pocket change for them. But those kind of people are already paying huge amount of tax, if that makes sense,
Yeah. And did you say both you and your partner work from home?
Exactly. Yeah.
What's that like? Is that preferable, or would you like to be out at the office? And I don't think I'm prying, Milo. It's just a general chit chat. But both people working from home, I would think you know there is a line like, are you living at work or working from home, or is it easier to structure?
I would say it's definitely easier to structure. It kind of cuts down the costs on commuting, you know, car servicing, that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, I would actually never change it. I used to work in an office, but now working from home, I literally, you know, it's the best thing ever happened to us.
And your salary, you have more of the salary you earn, because, as you say, a lot of the outgoings that you can avoid a lot of those outgoings, but maintain the productivity.
Yeah, exactly. Like the productivity has actually increased a lot, because you are much more relaxed, and even now with the COVID, right, there is no risk of, you know, spreading the disease or getting affected. But working from home definitely has its own pros and cons, but I would definitely say it has more pros and cons.
And do you find you're more inclined to push yourself to sort of get out of the house, to sort of change the scenery a little bit for your own well-being? Are you happy enough you've got a designated workspace, a designated living space, and you can sort of cross between those, similar as the rest might go from just a workplace office to home?
Definitely. For example, one of the benefits of my work is that the company actually does not care. I mean, I do not have a strict start time and strict end time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They only care that we do 8 hour shift within the 24-hour working day, right?
Right, brilliant, yeah.
So we can take breaks whenever we want. We can take lunch whenever we want. If I, you know, just like need to vent my head, you know, clear my head, I can just, you know, take a dog and go out for a walk for 15, 20 minutes.
Good stuff. All right, okay. And it works well for you too. Listen, thanks very much for that, and thanks for your insight. I really appreciate it. Lovely to speak to you.
Likewise. Take care.
Okay, take care of yourself. That's Milo there. That is his input. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. Right. Good morning. Please thank Jamie from Lifford, who stopped to help change a wheel yesterday evening. A young gentleman. Thank you. Jamie, well done to you. You made a big impact on someone there. Happy birthday to Emma Gallen, the Beaches Buffet from Mum and Dad and Megan in Killy Gordon. More than happy to pass that on. And we'll play a piece of music for these people a little later. Mum, Donna Gamble, is in Lisky, Ballindrate, and is 50 today. Happy birthday to you from Marie and Dahi, and from Lucia, Clint, Amy, Oshin and Farrell. Okay, those are the requests. I meant to leave them a little bit, but they slipped in, and all well and good to get them out there. More than happy to do so. Child benefit is only paid between 16 and 18 if still in full-time education, stops at 18 altogether. Indeed, that was my understanding, but the listener earlier said that it should be continued to be paid if they're still in education. So maybe if you're that listener, you could apply for that. And I think you possibly save, if you weren't getting it for a few months, you probably could get it backdated, could you? We were back talking about dogs on the beach as well. I would love to walk on Coldaff Beach, but I cannot with owners letting dogs off leads. It's very scary when you're afraid of dogs. Everyone has a right to walk and enjoy the beach. Really surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because I didn't know. I don't own a dog, and I'm not particularly afraid of dogs, okay? So I didn't know what way this would go, but the majority of people calling contacting us, would be in favour of dogs and horses, particularly dogs, it seems, being banned from Donegal beaches, the blue flag beaches, for designated times during the summer. It's been discussed in Kerry. I'm not sure if the conversation has started here or if it will, but a lot of people seem to be in favour of it. Designated dog beaches or dog-friendly hours, supervised by a dog warden, that keeps everyone happy, says a caller. Good morning, Greg. Two things. Firstly, I agree 100% with banning horses and dogs from beaches, as lots of children and adults are afraid of both horses and dogs. And secondly, chat about taxing children allowance is a disgrace at this time when prices are going through the roof. A litre of milk went up 20 cent last week, and a gluten-free loaf went up 30 cent, and that loaf was only 12 slices. And indeed, all necessary groceries went up the last few weeks. So no, talk about more taxes, please. Okay. The story earlier on about the €10 being turned into €40, 30 years interest. That's a lovely story, and what a great man. €10 or £10 sterling would be a lot in the early 90s. It certainly would. Greg, while I don't agree with accessing children allowance because all children are equal, taxing children's allowance because all children are equal, the poor middle class and the very well off, I do agree with the banning of dogs on the beach running free, and I don't mind if they're on a leash. Okay, a couple of people having a say on both, no problem. Just love this story and donating to charity. Well done now, Jim. That's Jim Barr that was on with us early. A lovely heart-lifting story, brings tears to my eyes. Bless everyone. There's just something very poignant to me. I got that too. I'm not saying I was feeling teary, but just the linking the 2022, which is what it is, and linking it back to the early 90s when life for all of us was so much different. There was more to that story than would initially meet the eye. I agree there anyway. Hi Greg, there's a lot of talk of opening up of all society soon. Will there be antigen testing in workplaces? Showing a vaccine pass, proof of being vaccinated, is of little use, as most people who caught COVID in the last month have COVID passes and were fully vaccinated. If people hadn't used their own antigen tests at home, numbers would be even higher, as those who tested positive restricted their movements. There were a few, if any, PCR tests available, so people were on their own, but mostly done the right thing. Well, the PCR testing was at capacity for a period of time. Antigen testing, if there's not much COVID around, doesn't do much really. It might make you feel better, but if it's not going to detect COVID that's not there, and it's more likely to deliver a false positive, right? Okay, that's statistically, there are an element of false positives, and if you're trying to sample a disease that's not widely spreading, it amplifies the false positives, if you get where I'm coming from. So I don't believe antigen testing will be widely used. Perhaps it will. But the cases are falling off a cliff edge at the moment too. The vaccine pass is hugely controversial. I am not sure anyone wants them. I think people can argue in their favour or against them, but I don't think anyone wants them. They will be around at least until the end of March. And even if, I think, what do you think, people out there, even if there are new strains of this virus, which seems inevitable, but hopefully they're lesser damaging than Omicron, we are not going to be able to open up and lock down again, are we? Or keep doing that? We are going to have to find some sort of an alternative, aren't we? Is that what we agree on? I don't know. What do you think? 086 60 25,000, but we can't keep doing this opening, closing. If this is going to be around for a long term, we have to find another way, don't we? Okay, let us take a break, and then we might come back with a piece of music, and we've more calls and comments and guests for you to meet. So stay right where you are, please.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Multiple loan payments causing you stress? Why not talk to Letterkenny Credit Union today about a debt consolidation loan?
Clear Mobile has 99% 4G population coverage. So where are people going?
Out west with 4 bars and all. Dublin, outside of Dublin.
Longford, Waterford, all the Fords.
There you go. This January, choose great coverage with unlimited calls, texts and data from $12.99 a month. New year. You clear? Clearmobile.ie. 30-day contract. Activation fee and fair use applies. Max data speed 5 megabits per second. $12.99 subject to eligibility. Offer ends 31st of January 2022. See clearmobile.ie for terms.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gidor offers the most advanced skincare treatments for men and women, treating conditions such as acne, skin tags, rosacea and scarring. As a qualified aesthetics practitioner, Mary Ferry offers a range of anti-aging treatments including dermal fillers, thread lifts, profilo, skin boosters, microneedling and LED light therapy. Hair and makeup also available. Download the Genesis Salon app today or call 07495 325 75.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Kickstart your new year with Letterkenny Institute of Technology. If you're currently unemployed, looking to enhance your skills, a mature student, a leaving certificate student, or a parent, then Letterkenny IT's Virtual Information Evening is for you. Find out about the CAO, Springboard Plus, postgraduate and flexible online programmes on offer. Talk to academic and support staff and explore your options. Discover all that Letterkenny IT has to offer for 2022. Don't miss it. Letterkenny IT's Virtual Information Evening, Wednesday the 19th of January, 5 to 8 p.m. Visit lyit.ie for more information.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Coming up after our piece of music, we're going to be talking about a meeting in Lifford this morning discussing elements of the Micah scandal. Okay, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. So we are going to take a break for music. We're going to go to Ardra for the music today. And if you're watching us on social media, bear with us. There'll be a bit of silence for a couple of minutes for copyright reasons, but we'll be right back. All right, and that's the title of the song. That's our draws, Michael Maloney there. Right, we are joined on the programme now by Councillor Martin Mcdermott. Good morning to you, Martin. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, what's being seen as an important meeting takes place tomorrow morning. Who's attending the meeting and what is on the agenda?
Yeah, well, we've been trying now since prior to Christmas to get a meeting with the department. to finalise. As you know, there's been major issues in some of the application process, and the council has stalled on a number of those applications, looking for details and better details from the department of how they can proceed. They've been waiting quite some time in that. We were pushing for a meeting prior to Christmas. That didn't happen. Then there was to be a meeting on the 13th, and then that was changed now onto tomorrow morning. So the department officials are coming to Lifford to meet us tomorrow morning. At that meeting will be Patsy Lafferty, John Gallagher, and Patricia McIntyre, and I'll be attending on behalf of the Mica Redress Committee, and also will be attending will be Councillor Albert Doherty as Vice Chair of the Mica Redress Committee meeting. So I think it's an important meeting because the first chance that we've got, from a council perspective and from the Mica Redress perspective, to sit down with these department officials that are putting the scheme together.
But in terms of the new scheme, that's there at the moment, and that's going to be discussed and agreed in the Dáil. The main points of that, and obviously Darragh O'Brien's made a statement as it relates to the sliding scale just before Christmas, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's there. Is that going to be reopened again, or is it other elements of this process that's going to prioritise the conversation?
I think the first thing that we have to prioritise, we have a few things that we need to prioritise tomorrow. One is the status of the current scheme. The
new scheme or the current scheme?
No, the current scheme.
Right.
The status of the current scheme at the minute, where we are with the applications that are in with the council, the 245 applications that are sitting that needs to be dealt with, how they can be dealt with, how the applications that are coming in for change of option can be dealt with. And how the applications that have other materials other than Michael, other delirious materials, and in relation to IS 465, how
now,
that can
before we move on, talk to me about IS 465.
Well, the problem, I suppose, that the engineers and the councils have at the minute is that we have a protocol that was wrote back in 2017, IS 465. And that gives very clear guidance as to how application process is dealt with, how they can deliberate on an application. At the very start of this, I suppose, when all the extra data that has come in over the last year and a half has shown that there's other materials that's on those blocks other than mica or other than pyrite. There's other delirious materials.
Right. So we're clear. We want to make sure then that if there's boring done at a property, and that even though there could be cracking and deterioration, if that sample does not detect pyrite or mica, then they could be outside the scheme. But you want we need IS 465 looked at to take into account other deleterious materials that could be causing the same visual and structural problems as mica and pyrite. So this needs to be extended beyond those two. Is that it for us lay people?
Absolutely. And another aspect could be that you have people at the minute that mightn't have the amounts of mica or pyrite in their block that would determine a demolish. So they might be for an outside block, for instance. And the engineer, because of these other materials, would say that that house, in my opinion, needs to be demolished. But as the IS 465 sits at the minute, as the protocol sits at the minute, the engineer that's dealing with it in the council can't deliberate on that because it doesn't allow them. So this is we need IS 465 updated to take into consideration.
Is this a technical issue, but it's beyond a technical issue, of course, that needs to be agreed, and everyone will go, right, of course, well, listen, we obviously have to look at this protocol. Or is there some pushback at this point coming from those that might want to limit the scope of this scheme?
Yeah, well, again, that will be determined tomorrow, Greg. That is something I think that IS 465 has to be updated, and I think that, to be fair to the minister and the department and engagements that the Mica Action Group has had with them, I think they know that themselves.
And just a question on that, Martin. I'm sorry, because you are right across this, okay, so I want to make sure all of us understand. Yeah. If this is if this protocol is amended, okay, and it's expanded to increase other deleterious materials other than mica and pyrite, are we just catching the houses we knew already were falling down, or is there a possibility that this makes the scheme much bigger than it were previously?
No, I think we're still catching the houses that are there, Greg. I don't think it makes it a lot bigger than what it is. It's still, pyrite and mica, not particularly pyrite, mica here in Donegal is still going to be the predominant figure that we're dealing with. But I suppose that the engineers that's dealing with the scheme would have concerns in relation to other materials as well, and that is the problem at the minute. Those are not being taken into consideration, and they have to be taken into consideration.
But basically, they are the same defective blocks. It's just different defects. So there's no real argument beyond this against this, you would seem. As it relates to the people already on the current scheme, which is for the old scheme, just so for clarity. A lot of those people are already out a lot of money that they wouldn't be out, hopefully, on the new scheme. And I don't think an awful lot of people can have 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever amount of grand it is sort of sitting out there on the table. Firstly, you would be very doubtful you will ever get it back, whether that's for right or wrong, but that would be your overpowering emotion. You don't want to lose that money out. Is there something there that needs to be discussed and clarified?
Absolutely. That's one of the main points as well of tomorrow. People that are waiting on their money, there is absolutely no reason that people can't get their money back, even though they are waiting maybe to get an answer on their application process. They should now be entitled to get their money back. And that's one of the things that we have to get very, very clear tomorrow from the department, that the people that sitting, there's people sitting, Greg, now at the minute, 16, 18 months out, 7, 8 grand, and those people must get their money back. And we would be pushing that should happen before the end of this month, before the end of January, that the people that's on the scheme at the minute get their reimbursement of money. And I think that's something that can happen pretty quickly through the department by a small change of legislation that can happen very, very quickly. And that's something, as I say, that we will hopefully try and get a straightforward answer on.
I feel they will try and push that back, though, till the whole thing goes through the Dáil. But listen, the representations have to be made. If it were me, I wouldn't be holding out hope. I would be confident I would get it, but I think I might have to wait into towards the end of the first quarter, maybe into the second. But anyway, I'm not predetermining anything. I just don't want to, not that you are, but suggest there's false hope there. Is there an explanation as to why we have a scheme, okay, and we are going to have a new scheme, hopefully, why nothing is happening? Who made a decision to sort of stop the wheels turning?
From a council perspective?
Yeah,
well, I think that, the senior team that's working with us and the senior engineers, I think have made the right call here. I think they've made the call, a call that favours the homeowner more so than the department. And it's a big call for the council to make too, to stop processing these applications. And they have, to be fair, been trying to get answers from the department for quite some time. And I think it's only when they put their foot down and says, look, we can't deliberate on these anymore, that the department have finally stood up and listened to what they've said and have come on board and are now meeting to try to sort out the issues that they've been putting on their table for quite some time now. And I think that, if we can get the IS 465 updated and we can get answers from the department tomorrow, it certainly will be in the benefit of the homeowners.
Yeah, and of course the Dáil has its work to do, and the Oireachtas members in this county have a job to do in that. We can't stall this any longer. People already know that even when a scheme is announced and if it's agreed, it's a long haul for a lot of people, an awful long, stressful journey. And we've talked of all the complications, not least of where do you bloody live while your house is being fixed, okay? But none of that can really be worried about until there's a scheme that people have applied for, been accepted on, and been approved for. And we can't allow this to run late into 2022, not even late into February. So what is the situation there? Do we know that this is going to be moved on towards the end of this month, or are we hoping and appealing that it is moved on?
Absolutely, and I think the department have given a commitment that they will do this in February. And I know the Mike Action Group and Michael Doherty and the team have been working all over Christmas and up until last night, having meetings to push the department and through their engagements with John O'Connor and the department officials. And I think they'd be very hopeful that something will happen, and it needs to happen in February. And the minister, and I think Michael had conversations with the minister, and he did give indications as well that this would happen in February time. But as you know, Greg, and I know, and we all know, that sometimes these things take longer than sometimes they are put out there in the media to happen. But I think that this one can't run on because there's too many people sitting, spend Christmas in homes that are falling down, and it's getting worse by the day. And, it's just unfair at this stage that this has run on so long, and something that we will certainly be putting very heavily to the department tomorrow, and not just again for private homeowners, but people that are in social houses as well. That process needs to be pushed on as well, and the council have put an application into the department for funding to do that. So there's a lot of people and a lot of homes at the minute that needs clarification very, very quickly and very, very urgently.
I take it, given the parties involved at this meeting tomorrow, is it's not publicly accessible. It's
no,
because whatever about the council, we're talking about officials coming from down from Dublin to attend. Okay, well that's important, and of course we'll cover this extensively. It's tomorrow morning. It's in Lifford. I think there's a few very, very important issues on the agenda there. In terms of the conversation that we're having about accommodation, I know there's some talk of a private developer being interested in providing some accommodation, and there's other calls for something to be done in Letterkenny. And I'm really disappointed, I don't know if you are, that we've had motions passed for the council to examine the possibility of providing, prefabricated houses, cabins, whatever you want to call them. That motion passed a couple of months ago. No inquiries made to that regard. Is this going to be the next logjam coming down the river? Who needs to take the bull by the horns on this and start talking more seriously at decision-making level about what we're going to do in terms of housing people?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that we're in a housing crisis in Donegal. There was the Mike Action Group done a check last week on houses, and I think you might have had a conversation with them about this, that there was only one house that was advertised available in the show. So there are no houses out there. This is something that has been discussed at council level. I had a motion myself, Greg, back a number of months ago about doing exactly what you said.
In fairness, both yourself, Councillor McMonagle and Michael McBride, that's independent Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin. Not that this is political, but it shows that there's a cross-party support.
Absolutely.
And you guys are elected, right? You're elected by the people. And I think if you get motions passed on such a serious issue, the least you can expect is that something is done to see if it's plausible, is it possible. Logistically, that hasn't happened. So I'm sorry to admit you on that one, because I know you did raise it yourself.
That's right. And Councillor McMonagle just a few weeks ago had a motion at council and spoke about it as well. The officials in the council have, at our last SPC, have told us that they have made representations to the department for funding for temporary accommodation in towns and villages to facilitate people both in social houses and in private houses. We've also had conversations, and some developers are interested in doing temporary accommodation in towns and villages as well. And yesterday we discussed this at a long level at the Inishowen area meeting with the planners, and I've had a number of conversations with the senior planners about this, so that they are in a position that the work is done for people that come to do this temporary houses, because this is something that needs to happen within the next, at the very longest time, 6 months. We need to be in a position that we have temporary houses.
And there has to be adequate power, there has to be water, there has to be sewage, there's groundwork that has to be done. This is not plonking things in fields.
There's a lot of sites, in Letterkenny and Buncrana, Carndonagh, all around the county that have that accessibility there. They have the sewers, they have the power, they have everything there. And it's a matter of making sure that there's no stumbling blocks when it comes to the council to deliver on these types of accommodation, because this is something that has to happen, because if we don't, we are going to be in a very serious position come middle of 2022, when if the scheme is announced and people start moving out of their houses. Also, there needs to be the availability under the planning legislation that people can put temporary accommodation at their own houses, beside their own houses. And also, if people want to do up their sheds, that can be an exempt development for the period of time.
And the reason something like that might be complicated is, let's just say the solution for some might be a mobile home. There's €15,000 available for rent. Can that be used against a mobile home? If you pay $20,000 but then you only need the mobile home for 8 months, but the 15 grand is to cover 15 months, but that can't be beyond us. Councillor Frank McDermott was on to say that IS 645 needs to be scrapped. There should be no moving forward until that happens. The group has dug itself into a no-escape situation, he believes, and he thinks that the only way to actually presumably resolve the whole mica crisis is through the high courts. Right, well, the second part, we can argue that back and forwards, but anyway, IS 645, can it be amended, or does it need to be scrapped? You have to have a protocol in there, I presume. I'm not speaking on behalf of Councillor McDermott, but there has to be a protocol there, presumably, or else, what legislatively would a scheme sit upon?
No, there has to be a protocol, and Councillor McDermott has brought that up a number of times and has put very valid points across on a number of occasions as well. Absolutely. I think that the protocol has to be there. I think that, the IS 465 that's there at the minute is built and it's working. It needs to be updated. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of issues with it that needs to be resolved. But I think we need to have, and there must be a protocol there that we work to. And I don't want, and certainly I don't think there's any homeowner in Donegal today that wants to go back to start the whole process over again for 2 or 3 years to do another protocol. I don't think that can happen.
And you're convinced that would be required, that we would have to replace or scrap IS 645, though something might have to replace it. You believe that this would bring us back to the beginning of the process?
Yeah, absolutely. It would certainly bring us back to the beginning of the process. So I think that, we have to be very careful how we manage that. But I think that, the tools are there to deliver on this scheme, and I think the tools that are there needs to be updated. And I think that that can happen. I think we can certainly deliver a scheme that will work for people.
Before I let you go, because I do find it as well hard to keep track of, demolish, rebuild, outer leaf and what have you. As part of the new scheme, people will be, I would say, encouraged to do outer leaf only, even if they have to come back to the scheme at a later date. Now, to me, that doesn't make much sense financially, that effectively to replace a house in 2 stages, outer then inner, that doesn't seem financially, doesn't make much sense to me. But that's what the state seems to want to do. But it still will be a case that there will be varying options dependent on how bad the mica problem is in your property. That maintains.
Yes, that maintains. I suppose that what's happening is the first element of the scheme is moving to the housing department, where you will get an assessment done of your house by an engineer. Then that assessment will be sent to the department. The housing department will work alongside the engineer that you have chosen as your engineer, and they will come up with a remedial option fit for your house according to the tests and the test suite A and test suite B results that come back. And that will determine then.
Do you think engineers will be inclined to sign off on that? I mean, obviously, there's an indemnity, isn't there, from government if it's outer leaf only, for what that's worth. But I mean, I'm just wondering, if I were an engineer and I know if the outside blocks are gone, the inside blocks, they're susceptible. However, water might get in there or whatever it might be. I ain't going to roll those dice. I could be as far out as the proverbial lighthouse. But are engineers likely to be signing off on recommending outer leaf only, or do we yet know?
No, well, look, again, that's down to the professional opinion of the engineer. And as you see at the minute, the engineers would have serious concerns of leaving materials behind in parts of the house that could defect at a later stage.
What's the story? What's the story with foundations? Because on this programme, Minister Charlie McConalogue says foundations would be included in this scheme. Is that the case?
I think that at the minute the foundations are not included.
I wonder why Minister McConalogue said they were.
I don't know. I'm sure it is something that we've been pushing for to get over the line, and I would be probably confident to say that it probably will. But again, I'm going back to the point on the protocol in AS 465. That again would have to change if foundations were going to be included and going to be tested. But I think that it's a no-brainer, Greg, that if you are going to go to a point and demolish your house to rebuild your house, that your foundations must be tested and has to be tested to make sure that there's no materials on that foundation. It would make absolutely no sense to build a new house on top of a foundation.
Of course. It would also then make no sense to build an outer leaf on top of the same defective foundations with a defective inner wall. That would make no sense. So I mean, if you're saying that you have to test the foundations, well then we can scrap outer leaves as well. Then surely.
Well, I think as it go back to the point in the engineers, I think that this is something that Engineers Ireland and through the engineers that Engineers Ireland will be having long discussions with the department on, and hopefully that has happened. Hopefully those discussions have been had. And again, this is something that we will be certainly bringing up tomorrow with the officials that are dealing with us to make sure that all these issues are ironed out and dealt with by February, that people can finally, and I mean, we've been saying this so many times, finally get this scheme up and running, a working scheme that people can move on with their lives.
All right, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. All right, take care of
Thanks,
yourself. Bye-bye. Councillor Martin Mcdermott there ahead of that meeting tomorrow morning. I hope for those who maybe don't always access, there's a great Facebook support group, of course, for people affected by mica or those with an interest in it. Not everyone is on social media or not everyone gets the info. I hope I covered on as much of the technical side of stuff in ways that I can understand, certainly, and maybe that's helpful to some people out there. The one thing that you do realise is that just, regular folk affected by this, the depth of knowledge they have on the technicalities of this is absolutely amazing. So I'll always be playing catch up in that regard. All right, time for a quick break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
There's never been a better time to switch to Electric Ireland. We're offering all new customers a €265 welcome bonus with our 2-year deal. All you have to do is call 1800 30 50 90 or visit electricireland.ie. For your welcome bonus, switch today. Electric Ireland. We're brighter together. Estimated annual bill €2,019. Electricity and gas discounted unit rate, including standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. 24-month contract. T's and C's apply. See electricireland.ie.
If you're experiencing an unplanned pregnancy, there is someone you can talk to. My Options is a HSC service that offers confidential counselling and information. We're here to listen and guide you through all your options, including support to continue a pregnancy, as well as information on abortion services. We can also support you if a planned pregnancy becomes a crisis over time. Talk to a counsellor online at myoptions.ie or free phone 1800 828 010 from the HSE.
Skull Column Kill Letterkenny now enrolling girls and boys for September 2022. Come to our new school building on our enrolment days on Thursday the 20th and Friday the 21st of January between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. or visit our website skullcolumnkilLK.ie or call the school on 9122 772. Skull Column Kill, growing and learning together.
Thinking of changing? Think Nissan. Choose from the all-new Nissan Micra, Juke, Qashqai or all-electric Leaf with finance available from 0%. With new vehicles in stock and ready for delivery today, give us a call on 074 91 34567 or visit us at imotors.ie.
Glenty's Community Playgroup require a full-time manager. Must have 2 to 3 years experience in a managerial role, preferably in a childcare setting. Call 074 95 51 907 for details. Closing date is Thursday the 20th of January at 5 p.m. Shortlisting will apply.
Okay, we're heading towards the news. I have to squeeze a quick break in before that. Coming up after 11, lots coming up in the programme, including we're going to be discussing a campaign which has been launched to help fund vital treatment for a Buncrana teenager. That's Rocco McGinley. And we'll be talking about that. And as I say, we'll have more on the programme after 11, but we'll catch up on this quick break. Stay where you are.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Multiple loan payments causing you stress? Why not talk to Letterkenny Credit Union today about a debt consolidation loan?
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 20 kg EcoBright, buy 5 bags for €50. Softwood logs, 3 bags for €10. 1 kg fire logs, 4 for €5. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
It's that time of year again. Long evenings, low temperatures and slippery roads. So for your free tyre check, call Donegal Tyres. They have all you need in stock. Winter or all-season tyres, or especially for wet Irish conditions, the latest generation Uniroyal, the rain tyre. Experience the difference. Call Donegal Tyres, Donegal Town. Phone 97-21482 or see donegaltyres.com.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creasla.
Made to Measure Fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at Made to Measure Fireplaces and Granite Worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the Made to Measure showroom at Cashel Creasla or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
Looking for an easier way to get your prescriptions filled? Look no further. With our new Brennan's Pharmacy app, you have a simpler, faster way to manage your prescription orders. Just download the free Brennan's Pharmacy app from Google Play or App Store, fill in a few simple details about yourself and your medicines, and you're all set. From prescription ordering, daily medicine reminders, to messaging our pharmacy team directly, it's all at your fingertips with our new Brennan's app. Like to know more? Why not call your local Brennan's Pharmacy today for more information? We're here for you.
Okay, you're tuned to your number one local radio station. This is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. It is 11 o'clock. Time for a news update now. We say good morning to Catherine Gaffney.
Good morning, Greg. The Higher Education Minister says students should get clarity on this year's Leaving Cert in the coming days. Sixth years are planning protests across the country today, demanding a choice between calculated grades and written exams. Gardaí have until this evening to question a suspect in Aisling Murphy's murder investigation. The man in his 30s was arrested at a Dublin hospital and is being held in Tullamore. A police operation is ongoing this morning in the Gallia Park area of Derry. It's understood that the operation is centred on a white van parked in the residential area. A number of homes were evacuated in the early hours of this morning, with residents being housed in Templemore Sports Complex. A man has been arrested in connection with an investigation into organised crime in Sligo. The man, who's in his mid-20s, was arrested in Galway yesterday. He's the second man to be questioned over the inquiry and is being detained at Sligo Garda Station. The Minister of State for Sport says he expects full capacity crowds at the GAA National League in Ireland's Six Nations opening fixtures. Jack Chambers says he is optimistic that COVID restrictions will be lifted in time to allow spectators at full capacity for the games in Croke Park in 10 days' time and at the Aviva on the 5th of February. The number of patients with COVID-19 at Letterkenny University Hospital has dropped to 45. There are 2 patients with the virus in ICU. Nationally, the number of COVID patients in hospital has dropped by 14% over the past 9 days. This morning's total is also the lowest in over a fortnight. There were 34 people awaiting admission to Letterkenny University Hospital this morning. 5 people were on trolleys in its emergency department, while a further 29 were waiting on wards. And speculation over the future of British Prime Minister Boris Johnson continues, with reports more letters of no confidence have been submitted. 54 of his own Conservative Party MPs need to do that in order to force a vote on his future. That's it for now. We're back with a further update for you at 12 noon.
All right, Catherine, thanks very much for that.
Well, Davy, brilliant that you weren't in work today. We had some crack. It was Peter's last shift, so we all went out for lunch. Thanks for staying away. The lads are delighted. Chat to you soon. Mind yourself.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the last hour of today's 9 till noon show. And we welcome into studio now Jonathan Sweeney. A very good morning to you, Jonathan. Thanks so much for calling down to us.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having us here today.
Right, and we're here to talk about a very important issue, an initiative and a fundraiser, and it is to raise money for the treatment of Rocco McGinley. Before we get into that, tell us about Rocco.
Yeah, Rocco's just a happy, charismatic, loving, playful, typical 14-year-old boy. He's part of a large family there. His mammy Yvonne, dad Wade. He's 3 older brothers, Dean, Jordan and Warren, and he has 4 younger siblings as well, Cooper, Winter, Arya and Bodie. So he goes to Skelwara there in Buncrana, and he's a tight group of friends, just into your normal teenage stuff. He's into his boxing and his football and playing his PlayStation, and he likes his music. Now, I'm not sure his playlist would be something me or you would listen to, Post Malone and the like.
What about yourself? talk about yourself here. I'm quite youthful in my music listening, but no, I have similar aged young people myself. I know
Very
exactly
good.
what you're saying.
Yeah, but yeah, so he's just a normal teenager, but obviously that kind of changed towards the end of last summer.
Can you talk to us about that? Because it would have, everything starts with a trickle, so to speak, and tell us how it became clear that something was wrong.
That's exactly how it happened. Last summer, Rocco started experiencing really bad headaches. So his mum and dad took him to the GP. They couldn't really figure out what was going on. He then developed blurred vision. So as you would as a parent, you're trying to troubleshoot what's obvious and what's in front of you. He was taken for an eye test. They thought at that stage maybe, it might be something to do with his vision, but unfortunately it progressed then that he lost the power in his limbs one day and lost his balance, at which point the alarm bells rang and they knew something serious was up. He was quickly taken for an MRI then, and they had the results the next day. That was the start of October, and that's really when the nightmare for the whole family started. Rocco, it was diagnosed that he had a large tumour on his brain. Mm-hmm. So devastating news for the family. Like a couple of weeks beforehand, they thought he might need glasses. So to get that news, he was rushed to Temple Street Children's Hospital, where he received great care. Now, it'd be just an example of the way Rocco is like, and I suppose how hard it is to take for a 14-year-old all this information. He felt guilty about being there or taking up a bed. He didn't feel as sick. It was the first time in his life he was met with proper sick children, and he felt that,
what am I doing here?
Yeah, and just wanted to go home. Yeah. So,
and often in these situations, the person affected, and particularly young people, are the bravest, and it's us around them that it just hits like. It's just absolutely devastating news for the immediate family, but the extended family as well, and friends. Now, in terms of treatment, in terms of the capabilities in this country, everything's been exhausted, I understand. Is that correct? So we're looking further afield for treatment. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yeah. Just to rewind it back
a step,
Greg, just he had a biopsy then in Temple Street. Mm-hmm. And bad news went from bad to worse in that he was diagnosed as having a malignant tumour, a very rare one that can't be operated on. So he was taken over to St. Luke's, where he underwent radiation therapy. Again, another story about Rocco and the big heart that he has. He's over there and he's going through all that, and he spent most of his time. There's an elderly lady there, and she had to go through the radiation therapy too, and he spent a lot of his time just, easing her worries and making sure that she.
So he wasn't thinking on himself.
No,
he was seeing what can I do to make this
exactly
person's experience more manageable.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at. He had radiation therapy completed at the end of October, which, in fairness, subdued the symptoms a good bit, but unfortunately, because the tumour is so rare, when an illness, as you know, is rare, there's very little research done on it. So his parents had to widen the field in relation to finding treatment, and found a facility in Houston, Texas that can offer Rocco the treatment he needs. With that, obviously, it's expensive, and money was needed to be raised to get him over there.
Yeah, and you know, it's connected and unconnected. It's got nothing to do with Rocco, but we were watching a film the other night, John Q. It's not much of a film, but it's quite good. But it was about just the way things in America is that the difference between making treatment for a child and not was money.
Yeah.
But that's the reality we live in, unfortunately, that it comes down to families and the communities to fundraise for important treatment. So it's considerable because, as you say, it's rare. That means there's not an awful lot of research. That means they're at the start of the process. There's a lot of research, but it's not as far as advanced as it is with other conditions. So that means it's going to cost more money.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Just on that, maybe if John Q was from Donegal, he mightn't have had to hijack or what to do.
The hospital, yeah, exactly. That's it, and that's what it came down to. And it's sort of the reason it was an interesting program is because it made us, and particularly parents, that moral. What do you do?
Dilemma,
what would you do?
Exactly.
It was just
and that's where Yvonne and Wade are.
You'll move heaven and earth is the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Outside of Hollywood, that's exactly what you do, and that's what they're trying to do.
On that, just from not being from Donegal myself originally, up here 13 years, I would have to make a comment that I always felt there was a great sense of community in Donegal, and whether it's good times or bad times, really support their own. And this is definitely the case here. Like, family are blown away with the support received so far. Whether it's big gestures, small donations, like the impact of anyone reaching out is felt 100-fold by the family. So just on behalf of them, Greg, I just would like to thank each and every person so far that has reached out and either donated or decided to do a bit of fundraising themselves. And it's been a great start. And I suppose I'm on here today
to kick it on
a bit, and maybe encourage your audience if they haven't been involved. Even if you're a stranger to the family, you can check out the fundraising pages on Instagram and Facebook, Rocco's Road to Recovery. There's also a GoFundMe page, Rocco's Road to Recovery as well. And we'd encourage anybody out there to give us more support.
And we'll talk about the targets and where you need to get to, but just talking about that community support again, when you're dealing with something like this, it's very lonely, because there's not an awful lot of people know precisely what you're going through, and it feels like a battle. Certainly at the beginning, I would imagine, as well as the financial support, just to know so many people are supporting Rocco and the family, it has to have made a very, very difficult situation just more manageable, that to sense, right, you know what, everyone's behind us here.
That's exactly it. The primary goal is to get the money for Rocco's treatment. That's the A plan. But the residual benefit of all this is that goodwill that feeds back to Yvonne and Wade, to Rocco, the whole family, that strength that's inspired by the community's goodwill. Rocco himself, he's a tight knit group of friends as well that give him plenty of support, and that's important to him. And then Yvonne and Wade, close family, far out relatives, even strangers. Every little goodwill gesture is greatly appreciated.
And just to put it into context here, the target's €280,000. If everyone in Donegal gave €1, you wouldn't be far off that target with what's already been made, or even maybe certainly past it. So this is not beyond us. And, people, as Jonathan's been saying, have been greatly generous. But if this story's moved you, if you want to help Rocco and his family go and get this treatment in America, you can do that. You can be part of something really, really important, whether it's a $5 or a $10, or if your pockets are a little bit deeper, more. But today we can come together, right? And we're not going to do it all now, obviously, but people can say, right, if I were in that situation, what would I want? We can all give a little bit or give a lot, whatever it might be, and make this happen for this family. This is the power that we have today. I mean, that's remarkable. It's almost a gift in and of itself that we can do something that would mean so much to this young man and to his family.
That's right, Greg. I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it.
So the Facebook page, people, if you want to, if you can, things is tight. I know that for some, but for others there's a bit to spare, right? Rocco's Road to Recovery. It's ROCCO, Rocco's Road to Recovery on Facebook. And you'll see images of Rocco there. He's like every other 14-year-old. He just wants the best chance like we all would want. Or if you want to go on to the GoFundMe page, you can search Rocco's Road to Recovery. There's no point me reading out the URL because it's just too confusing. But if you search Rocco's Road to Recovery, you can do it. If you do it, share it on your Facebook page too. Don't be shy. I think some people donate and they don't want to sort of make out that they're telling their friends they've donated. But the sharing of your donation on your page, be it on Instagram or Facebook, that encourages other people to do, and it raises awareness. So don't be shy about having donated and not wanting to look like you're looking for attention. Sharing, it's the really important part of it. And if we it gets out to enough people, this target could be cracked really, really quite soon, Jonathan.
That's the plan, Greg. Rocco's due to start his treatment at the end of this month. So anyone out there, your listeners, if you've a spare, as you say, a spare couple of euro, it means as much as someone who has a large amount of money to donate. Or again, if there's any ideas on how to fundraise, whether you're close to the family or you're a stranger, any help is appreciated. And again, just to thank everybody in Donegal so far. It means so much to the family, the support given.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we can all, as I say, give a little bit. I don't want to labour it, but it's so important and it's so within our power. If all of us give €1, they wouldn't really be very, very far off in this county alone, not to mention those that are listening further afield. And I do know people are working on coming up with ideas and what have you. But what you can do today, if you want to genuinely make a difference and be part of this for Rocco and his family, the Facebook page is Rocco's Road to Recovery, or on GoFundMe, Rocco's Road to Recovery there. And as I say, don't be afraid to share it out. Don't be shy about that if you donate, because that's what gets the word spread. And as I say, there's momentum there, but this really can be done really, really quickly with no one being out an awful lot of money. Right, Jonathan, you'll pass on our good wishes to Rocco and the family, and they all know we're 100% behind them, I hope. They know that. You've talked about that, but we are. And unless there's anything else that you want to add, Jonathan.
Just to thank you, Greg, and your listeners out there in advance for any support given, and that's on behalf of Yvonne and Wade and Rocco and all the family. Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. Listen, thank you very much for that. We'll be back with more on the programme after this break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Download our new app today to apply and draw down your loan wherever you are.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding, everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. A recent EPA report estimated that around 1,300 people in Ireland die prematurely each year because of poor air quality, which in rural counties like Donegal is mainly caused by the burning of solid fuels for home heating, particularly over the winter months. To improve air quality and protect our health, you can make a difference by using low-smoke fuels in all areas of Donegal. In the low-smoke zone of Letterkenny, the burning of smoky coal is not permitted. Only low-smoke coal whose bags carry the wording Approved Fuel or the Swift 7 logo should be used. To access information on the air quality in Letterkenny, visit epa.ie. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
Time to drive out the old and drive in the new. At B&S Credit Union Ballybuffet, our special car loan rate is now available with an easy application process. This flexible, affordable car loan is for you. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Are you currently unemployed or looking to enhance your employment prospects? Or are you employed but looking to reskill or upskill? Then kickstart the new year with a Springboard Plus programme at Letterkenny Institute of Technology. Advance your career prospects with programmes in artificial intelligence, management and leadership, Revit and 4D BIM, electric vehicle engineering, and social media and web marketing for tourism. Fully funded programmes for the unemployed, and those in employment pay just 10% of fees. Visit lyit.ie or email springboard@lyit.ie for more information.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
11:19. It's time for Wellness Wednesday now. Many of you out there have long-term health conditions. It could be diabetes, COPD, a heart condition, stroke, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, chronic pain, inflammatory bowel disease, and so many others. Now, obviously you would know yourselves that you have to live with those, but what this conversation is about trying to live better. Maeve McKeown, Self-Management Support Coordinator for this area with the HSE, and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Maeve. Thanks very much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Lovely to talk to you and to have a chance to let your listeners know about the free HSE Living Well programme for adults with long-term health conditions, as you've described.
And as I say, people are aware of it and aware of the challenges. This is not a silver bullet, is it? This is about maximising, presumably, sorry, and correct me if I'm wrong, maximising your quality of life in the long term.
Absolutely. It's about self-management. And just to wheel back a little and clarify, as you've outlined, what we mean by a long-term health condition. And it's one which can be treated and managed, but usually not cured. And it tends to stay with the person from the time of onset for the rest of their lives. So learning to manage it well is the key, really, to having a good quality of life. And you've listed in many of the programmes, and indeed we include long COVID, and we welcome people with long COVID onto the programme who've been, I suppose, diagnosed by a clinician and have COVID symptoms extending beyond the 6 months. We're finding people with long COVID are getting great benefit from the programme as well. So in terms of, how common long-term conditions are, we know they're very common. We know as we get older, they get more common. That 50% at least of people over the age of 50 have at least one, and many have multiple conditions. And also we know that, and people with conditions like this will know that being diagnosed with a condition like this or living with one on a day-to-day basis can be quite overwhelming for the individual at the best of times, never mind when there's a pandemic in situ. So the person's expected to step up and become an expert in their condition. They're expected to manage not just the medical aspect of the condition, like taking multiple medications, maybe using medical devices, going to lots of medical appointments, understanding medical jargon, making changes to their health behaviours, like maybe changing their diet or stopping smoking. As well as that, they have to deal with the implications of the effect it can have on their role and their place in society, on their personal relationships. And they might have to manage, things like altered self-image and anxiety and fear for the future. And many people would find this overwhelming and then have to manage maybe depression because of it.
Yeah. But now presumably, there's tried and tested things that will help in terms of, how you manage your pain or your tiredness. What exercise or activity might help, or what you might be capable of. How a diet might, in some way, help. Like that's the type of stuff that people will be able to access in terms of getting assistance with. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the programme is quite structured in that way. It's just to wheel back a little in terms of where we're going with this programme. It's to empower people to self-manage, and self-management are all those hours that the person spends not in the presence of a healthcare professional. So we know on average somebody with diabetes, for instance, will be lucky if they have 3 hours a year in the company in the presence of a healthcare professional, and that's a crucially important relationship to build. But the rest of the 8,000 odd hours, the person will be managing at home with their family. And this is the self-management aspect of the condition. And learning to self-manage effectively really is the key to having to living well rather than just existing. Yeah. And the support is provided by the Living Well programme, as you say, in developing a lot of those skills that you've referenced.
And how is it delivered, Maeve?
So yeah, about the programme, it's normally face-to-face, but during COVID, it's delivered in an online setting. And before people run for the hills when they hear online, I'll just give some assurance around that. We've had over 100 people in the past year who've joined the programme online and have never done anything online before. And it's a big step for people to take, but the reassuring piece here is that the first step is simply a phone call. And beyond that, people are given their hand is held throughout, and they're given support to come online and to do the programme online. So that's the first thing. It's a group programme, so it'll be a small group of up to 12 people, and it's facilitated by 2 leaders who are especially trained for the programme, but who are not healthcare professionals. They're people themselves who live with long-term health conditions.
Just a question as to how this is delivered. Of course, normally face-to-face, now it's online. That might actually make it more accessible to some, but for others not.
Absolutely.
Is this the entire year you're doing it online, or is it that going to be reviewed?
Well, it will depend again on infection control, infection prevention control advice from within the HSE, and we're staying very closely aligned with that, obviously. We do hope to get back to a face-to-face programme in the near future, but again, that depends. We're finding, however, that the response and the reaction of most people who do engage online is, wow, this is actually really easy for me. I can't travel because of my pain, and I can't travel because there isn't a bus service here. I can actually do this from the comfort of my living room.
Yeah. Now, you talked about 100 people having engaged. That's only scratching the surface of those that could. Have you obviously explaining it, the benefits of it, and how people can engage in interviews like this is very helpful. But what might be people's hesitancy? Have you looked into why people might be hesitant to engage in a program that might make their lives a little bit better? Because as I say, lots of people listening would be affected by the conditions we've mentioned. Maybe they've figured out their own way, but others might be struggling but could get help. Is there a hesitancy to enter in programs like this, I wonder?
I think a lot of the hesitancy, or it's not so much hesitancy as lack of knowledge of the programme and lack of awareness of what it entails. And also people, I think it's important to reassure people, and this is a good platform to do it, thanks Greg, that it's a very powerful programme, but it's also a very accessible one. It's easy for people to be engaged on it, and it's a bit of fun. People really enjoy the programme. It's not delivered by a professional. It's delivered by people just like them. And there's an opportunity within groups to assist other people in the programme. So, you might be in a group with people who have the same conditions as you, or maybe different conditions, but you'll find as the weeks go through, and it's 6 short workshops of 2.5 hours only. So over those few weeks, people develop strong friendships and bonds through the programme, and find that they're in a position to give advice to people who might be going through something similar to what they've experienced, and vice versa. So it's very much about peer support, and it's also covers very relevant topics. It covers topics including managing pain and fatigue and getting a better night's sleep, how to be physically active without being afraid of it, appropriate to your level, how to prevent falls, and healthy eating, breathing techniques, crucially communication. That's communication in your personal relationships, as well as communicating with your healthcare team and developing a partnership with your healthcare team so that you have a say in how your treatment and health is managed. Managing medications, positive thinking, using your mind to manage low mood, etc. And also making informed treatment decisions.
And just one person a testimony for one person who's never done a course like this before. They say, I feel more in control of my illness now, having learned a number of self-management skills. I initially thought that with everyone having different health issues, it might be negative or a negative. However, I learned that we all had same concerns and worries. There's a lot of crossover there. The next Well Living programme starts on the 25th of January, and there's actually a series of dates here for people to get involved. Who did they contact to register and maybe to get that assistance to get online that you talked of earlier? Where's the portal call?
And just again to reassure people, in the past 2 years we've had over 200 people do the programme, and all our feedback is, as you described there, very similar to what you've described and very positive. One person said in particular that encapsulates it well. I've never done a course like this before. It was so truly enjoyable, and I learned so much about myself and living with my illness. Previously, I would let my illness and symptoms consume me, and it would greatly affect my mental state. I never realised there was a different way of thinking and managing my life. It never crossed my mind before that I could have an impact on my own health.
All right, so those contact details, Maeve.
Yes, very simply, you can call 087 396 4307, and please leave a message if you can't get through straight away, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And again, it's 087 396 4307.
Okay.
Or you can visit hse.ie/living well.
All right, and we'll retain that information here because people will know our number off by heart, hopefully, and we'll be able to pass that on for anyone that calls, and I'm sure they will. Maeve, thank you very much indeed. Have a great day. That's Maeve McKeown there, Self-Management Support Coordinator with the Community Healthcare Organisation Area 1.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Multiple loan payments causing you stress? Why not talk to Letterkenny Credit Union today about a debt consolidation loan?
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 40 kg premium doubles or easy flame coal, buy 10 bags, get one free. 1 kg fire logs, 4 for €5. 12-pack wood briquettes, buy 2 for €10. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Your mental health is important, and now it's easier than ever to find the supports and services closest to you. You can free phone the Your Mental Health information line at 1800 111 888 anytime. Our team will tell you which supports and services are near you, where they are located, and how you can access them. You can also visit yourmentalhealth.ie for more information on mental health, for you or for people you know. Yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
In harsh winter weather, Watson Hire have all you need to stay safe and keep warm. There's great deals on coal, Calor gas, firewood and heating oil with free local delivery. Also electric, fan, halogen and oil-filled heaters. See in-store and the fuel store at watsonhire.ie. Great offers on winter clothing and boots. And for any hire items, there's still the weekend hire deal of 3 days for the price of one. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny, with free parking at the door.
What's gravity? When does the grass grow greener? Can people with longer legs jump higher? How are plastic cups made? How filthy are our parents? Which ingredients make the best slime? Why do we dream? Are you faster than a calculator? Could a robot be powered by fruit or vegetables?
When children ask why, who knows what will happen? ESB Science Blast, delivered by the RDS, empowers students from 3rd to 6th class to discover the wonder of science by investigating simple questions, wherever their classroom is. To find out more, visit esbscienceblast.com.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore. 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Okay, Business Matters, a preview of that podcast with Kieran coming up very shortly. But first, we welcome onto the programme the Minister for Agriculture, Food and Marine, Donegal Deputy and Minister, of course, Charlie McConnell. Good morning to you, Charlie. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, so what was the decision coming out of that cabinet meeting? Obviously, you don't want to preempt any NPHET guidance, which will be released tomorrow. But is there a sense that we need to sort of start lifting these restrictions sooner rather than later?
Yeah, well, I think there's a sense of growing optimism and hope, Greg, that we will be in a position to do that soon. Obviously, we will have to be guided by the public health advice in relation to what's happening, and the public health are meeting tomorrow, NPHET are meeting tomorrow. And then there's a cabinet subcommittee committee meeting on Friday. And then there'll either be a full cabinet meeting either on Friday or next Tuesday. But certainly, I think across the board, there's real strong hope that we have passed the peak of the Omicron. I think when we look at the figures in the last few days, it certainly speaks to the fact that may be the case. I know nationally the number of cases on Monday was down to just under 6,000. And we're seeing as well in relation to the numbers in hospitals that it's dropped under the 1,000 mark again at 979. as of this morning, and 93 in ICU as of this morning. So that's very positive. So obviously the only reason and that we have all of these restrictions in place is to keep everyone safe. There obviously continues, when you see the fact that there are people in hospital and very sick, there continues to be a real risk to public health, but thankfully a declining one. And
yeah. Now you mentioned the subcommittee meeting and the meeting on Friday, so that means that it would be in your gift to start easing restrictions this weekend. Do you believe there's any appetite around the cabinet meeting to send people into this weekend with a spring in their step and perhaps getting rid of things like the 8 p.m. curfew? Is that likely or possible?
Well, I think obviously we do want to reopen society as soon as we possibly can, and as soon as it's safe to do so within the context of where the infection rates are at. We also want to give people some notice of what's likely to happen. So I certainly expect, as the Taoiseach said this morning, that there will be some clarity given on Friday in relation to what people can expect. But I think there's no doubt that, public health advice permitting, that over the course of the next number of days, we hope to be in a position to look to gradually wind down that. But as
you're talking towards the end of next week, then. So what I'm trying to do is people shouldn't have any hope about the weekend.
I wouldn't expect to see it this weekend.
Yeah, okay. So towards the end of next week.
So we will be giving people some notice, but we do hope to bring that clarity there. And I think the public are looking forward to hopefully being in a position to do that. And I think everyone deserves tremendous credit in relation to the last number of weeks, how everyone responded, going right back to the start of the Delta wave in late November, early December. The public really responded to that in terms of their engagement, in terms of their level of activity, and saw the Delta somewhat subdued, but then obviously we had the Omicron since that, and again the public worked really hard in that. And I know it's been really difficult for businesses in particular, particularly for hospitality, and it's something that the government does want to work to reopen again and to give that flexibility.
I get that. Now there is a general agreement.
There's still a challenging situation.
Of course. We're all living it. We know it. We're living it. We're doing the heavy lifting here. Now, obviously, there's a general agreement, I think, that COVID's going to be around for multiples of years. We kind of, to some extent, got lucky. No disrespect to anyone that got very ill or even passed away because of Omicron. But for generally speaking, the virus weakened in terms of its impact on our health. We don't know which way that's going to go the next time around. It would be naive of us to think that there won't be other variants coming down the line. But we have to also live with this. We cannot perpetually for years open, close, right? So do you know if the government is working on a way that we can better get on with our lives? Because you know the impacts this is having on our finances, but our mental well-being. 17-year-olds at the start of this pandemic are turning 20 in the next month or two. So are you guys talking about how to live alongside this as much as we can, that we have our lives back, but also know that we have to obviously take some precautions as it relates to COVID? Is that the conversation that's happening now, or should it be happening now?
Yeah, that is happening, but like we have been in a very different position this Christmas and this last period of time compared to where we were last year. And that's because of the massive work and effort in relation to ensuring a successful rollout of the vaccination programme. And indeed, I think the booster programme, of which over 60% of the population now have as well, significantly put us in a very strong position over the last number of weeks to deal with Omicron. And I think it's still important, Greg, for particularly younger people that haven't received the booster yet to actually avail of that. But we thankfully are in a much, much better place. And I think we will continue to get into a better place. And obviously, COVID hasn't been predictable at different times, but what we have done is equipped ourselves to deal with it in a better way. And that will be the.
But there's no appetite. Is there an appetite for us to deal again with future future variants? Is there a plan to try and avoid even the most basic of restrictions? I'm not talking about masks here or social distance or hand hygiene. I'm on about the closing of businesses. Are we looking at ways to start to live our lives again, right, whilst protecting the most vulnerable, but to not have this social and business impact on people? Is that part of a plan, living with this that we're seeing in other countries? Is that what you guys are looking at?
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, we are already living with it. but living much better with it and more freely with it than we have been at earlier stage in the pandemic.
But with respect, I ain't talking about pubs and restaurants. I'm talking about going and be able to actually sit inside a GP's office and to get seen. I'm on about actually being able to go and visit a dying relative without an exception in the hospital. I'm talking about supports from the HSC like we've just been talking about that isn't delivered over a screen, that's in person. I'm talking about people being able to go in and spend time with their loved ones in nursing homes. That's when I talk about normal. That's what I'm talking about. People getting back to having normal interactions. Are you guys figuring out ways and a plan that we can do that? That we can go about our everyday life as best as we possibly can? Is that what's on the agenda now, or is it more of this yo-yoing between, restrictions, not restrictions, restrictions, not restrictions?
Of course it is, Craig. That is the way we want to be able to live our life. And, it's been, no one has wanted to be in the situation that's been over the last period of time. And it's only been for very, very real reasons that has been the case. And over the next number of weeks, what the government wants to do is get to a situation where people can do all of those things again and be able to do them safely. And I think we have a very strong platform by virtue of the vaccination program, by virtue of the fact that so many have got Omicron over the last period of time, and also by virtue of the fact that it appears to be that the virus is weakening in its virulence. So
okay. Well, in this strain, it can go in either direction. But I take your point. Of course,
and we have learned that. We've learned that over the last. But we want to, and that has been the objective over the last year too, was to reopen in a way that we could stay reopened. Obviously, Delta and Omicron, nobody predicted, but the objective in terms of the government now is to get back to normal life as quickly as we can, and we are very hopeful that over the next number of days we can give clarity around how that happens. I might just, if I can refer today as well at the Cabinet today, obviously we also had discussion of taking a decision, and there'll be a further announcement on this in a press conference at 12:30 today. But in recognition of the tremendous work, particularly of our healthcare workers over the course of the pandemic, and it has been really, really challenging for all in the emergency and paramedics or ambulance or frontline healthcare workers. And the Cabinet also today agreed and signed off on a measure which will give recognition to the work that all of those...
Come on, just say another bank holiday, St. Patrick's Day. Come on, get to it.
Yeah, well, firstly, it will be in the form of a €1,000.
Okay. This is very...
€1,000 payment to all of those that worked in healthcare. And also those also who are in the ambulance service, and also, for example, students who would have been performing training in clinical settings over that period of time as well. So it'll be a €1,000 tax-free payment in recognition of the massive work, commitment, tremendous hours and strain all of those staff were under. And also the Cabinet today as well signed off on a bank holiday this year to take place the day after St. Patrick's Day on Friday, March the 18th. Which will be a day of recognition and remembrance, recognition of the work that everyone has undertaken, recognition of the effort that everyone in the general public have had and contributed to over the last 2 years, and also remembrance of the near 10,000 people that have lost their lives on the island over that period of time. Every year, if you just finish, every year going forward, Greg, then as well, there will be a new bank holiday on the first Monday in February, in recognition of, around the time of St. Bridget's Day, and as also at the time of year which marks the start of the Celtic New Year. And also it's been said at the time too, which is a really appropriate time in terms of looking, for example, to develop tourism and hospitality, because it is in the middle of what was the longest stretch up until now of there not being a bank holiday. And I think that will be something that will be positive for County like our own long term too, in terms of having people coming to the county for that long weekend.
For sure.
But this year it's going to be the March the 18th.
The €1,000
national effort for COVID.
Understood. The €1,000 tax-free payment only to those in healthcare. What about the frontline people? What about Gardaí, for example? Those working on the front line in retail, right from the get-go of this, when we knew nothing about this, and they will be, a lot of them, working on that bank holiday. Is the €1,000 only for healthcare and those in the ambulance services and students that went out and actually started doing the work in the hospitals? That's very much welcomed.
Yes,
but
obviously COVID has impacted each person's life over the last year and each person's working life as well. but particularly so in relation to those that have been working in frontline healthcare and in our nursing homes and our ambulance service. So it will be specifically for those who are in frontline activity working with COVID patients. But there will be a further announcement at 12:30 for the ministers will be the relevant ministers across the departments concerned will be providing the detail, and that detail will be clarified then.
Brilliant.
If I can just say as well, Greg, also at Cabinet today as well, the legislative agenda for the next number of months and the year ahead was passed, and on that as well is the MICA legislation, which is obviously going to be really important for our own county. The government will be publishing that in the first quarter of this year, and plan to bring it through both houses of the Oireachtas then by early summer. Also, the government is continuing to work now in relation to following through in the decision it made in late November, particularly working to ensure that the repayments for those who have already cost in relation to testing, that is done now very quickly in the next short period of time. And then also, of course, the new scheme and the work with the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, that work is ongoing, because the key principle in the scheme, obviously, is that it must reflect the accurate and real costs of rebuilding homes and of fixing homes, and that's to be updated with the objective of by the end of February, so that when the new scheme comes in, it will be reflecting current building costs. And that, of course, has been the objective from the outset, and that will update every year thereafter. But of course, for many families across the county, this is an issue which is central to their lives, and the government are very much prioritising it. Again, that was an issue which was discussed and agreed at Cabinet today too.
All right, not insignificant. Listen, thanks for your time this morning. Greatly appreciated. All right, and we appreciate a heads up on that news to be confirmed later. Minister Charlie McConnell-Logue will be joined by Minister Kieran O'Donnell talking business after this break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Don't be without your favourite brand toiletries, cosmetics and fragrances with McGee's Chemist, where you can click and collect or have them delivered to your door. Email your list, no matter how big or small, to cosmetics@mcgees.ie or send a text to the dedicated order line. See mcgees.ie or Facebook for more details. Don't be without your everyday essentials with McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
If your child is aged 5 to 11, you can now register for their free COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 usually causes mild to moderate illness in this age group, but it can cause more severe illness. All vaccines used in Ireland are tested before they're approved by the European Medicines Agency. To find out more or to register, go to hsc.ie or call HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Ireland's best-selling car of 2021 is the Hyundai Tucson. And now the all-electric Ioniq 5 has proven itself with a host of awards. Ioniq 5 was named German Car of the Year, Auto Express Car of the Year, and European Car of the Year finalist.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 9122 600.
Business Matters in association with Letterkenny IT's Faculty of Business. Applications are now open for the highly regarded Masters in Leadership and Innovation in the public sector. Also a Masters in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection in Financial Services. And a Certificate in Online Dispute Management. Visit lyit.ie for more information.
Okie dokie. Kieran, thanks for holding there while we spoke to the Minister. Good to have you in studio.
Problem,
How are you
morning.
keeping?
Good, yourself?
Fantastic. Is this our first chat of 2022?
No.
Were we in last Wednesday?
We were.
Were we?
We were.
Oh, that's right. You forgot your glasses.
Correct. I can see you today.
Well, you did brilliant.
Unfortunately.
Exactly, I'll take that one. You're right. Come here. We'll start with a bit of news before we get to the nuts and bolts of the podcast itself. And positive. Well, I don't know if it's positive. We talk about house price rising.
Sure, it's where you are in America, isn't it?
I just wonder, is it positive or not? But anyway, Donegal property prices set to increase again.
Yeah, property prices in Donegal are set to increase by 10% in 2022, and that's according to a study carried out by the Sunday Times Property Price Guide. And in a separate study, the final DAF.ie house price report for 2021 found that the average price of a Donegal home jumped by 12.3%. That's almost a 5% more than the average increase of 7.7% and more than 7% higher than the national inflation rate for 2021. So house prices in Donegal on the up.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, as everyone listening would know, we're coming from a very low base.
Yeah.
So when we talk about percentage increases, it's going to be smaller than if you were to apply the same percentage in Galway or Dublin, what have you. Okay, right. Today's Rural Business Day. Interesting. It's caught on. I see it trending on the Twitter box.
Yeah, I heard the Cahirla, Jack Murray on with the news team as well earlier on. Greg, business across Ireland, Finland and Iceland are encouraged to get involved in Rural Business Day, which is taking place today. The event is being run by Digi2 Market. It's an EU project under the Northern Periphery and Arctic programme, and it's encouraging as many people as possible to post about rural business using the hashtag, obviously, whether it's a story about a business you like, how your local community is supported, or showcasing your favourite local business. And Irish partners of the Digi2 Market project include Uthers na Gaeltachta and Westbeck.
All right, a new online training course rolling out in Inishowen. What's that about?
Yeah, Inishowen Development Partnership is offering communities across Inishowen the opportunity to undertake a 6-session Smart Villages online training programme. The training is part of a wider programme under Leader being rolled out to 400 communities throughout Ireland. It offers steps and tools to help structure community development, bring in new volunteers and collaborate with other projects to create a smart village plan for the area. There's quite a bit of information on that, Greg, and they can check out the Inishowen Development Partnership social media platforms for more on that.
Brilliant stuff. Now, what have you been noticing in the recent CSO publications?
Yeah, household spending fell by €10 billion in 2020, with the biggest impact on spending being in restaurants and hotels, which fell by $6.5 billion. That's according to the Central Statistics Office, and I suppose no surprise. In a separate report by the CSO, a study on digital consumer behaviour found that around 4 out of 5 consumers bought goods or services online in 2021, with people in the 16 to 44 age category most likely to do so.
All right, I'm just scraping in there by the skin of my teeth, Kieran.
I'll have to take your word for that, Greg.
Just scraped in. Right, okay, Caroline, don't look at me like that. She knows I did. This is good news, and I'm not talking about you here, Kieran, but the snobbery in terms of jobs announcement does kind of annoy me, in that, you know, you might see huge growth in jobs in construction, for example, or in retail, and they're not really lauded much, you know what I mean? You won't see the Minister for Business out, you know, clapping his hands at this or her hands at this, whoever it might be. You know, certain jobs, you know, where they're being created in mass numbers, or I don't know, it can only be snobbery to me. Yeah. That being said, not taking anything away with what Advantio are talking about, because I did hear it on national radio, and it is not insignificant. That snobbery. Another thing that annoys me too, if you don't mind, you'll indulge me, this crap where they judge schools on how many went on to third level education. And they say, right, well, that school's fantastic because such and such a cohort or amount of people that went on to third level education, right? Yeah. It doesn't take into account those that have got a grounding and went into a trade or into a different area of work. Those people that keep this country going and build the houses and do everything, right? Some of them go to college to do that, don't get me wrong. But we judge the schools on how many went on to third level to discover, to study important stuff. More snobbery, more crap that needs to be done away with, and more studies I'm going to ignore, because also this rubbish about the use of the word skilled jobs, right? If those skilled jobs, I'll tell them, go out and lay a footpath and tell me how difficult that is. All that work is equal to me, and skilled Sorry for the rant, Kieran. Tell us about the jobs in Sligo. But I'm sick of it, and I'm not going to be part of it anymore. I never have been really, but I'm certainly not going to be.
I would be of the same mindset. I suppose really what you're talking about, Greg, is I suppose is academic performance, and if people are young boys and young girls aren't hitting academic points, they're not seen.
Well, let's stop judging them.
Yeah, but they're not. They're not actually seen as part of the process. And to be fair, I think Donegal ETB are making huge strides in that regard, and with the apprenticeships and the programs that they're doing and have done, particularly over the last 2 years, they're very mindful of that situation. And I think, with the demand for construction that's going to be very apparent over the coming years, it's going to be an area that there are going to be a lot more opportunities in as well.
It's very good that you point that out, but I am talking about this a national mindset. Yeah. You're going to get pockets where it's been done well and whatever, but this attitude that elevates some people and de-elevates others, those days for me anyway need to be gone. Anyway,
there are so many areas that aren't measured as well.
Yeah, I'm eating into your I'm eating into your time here, ranting. What's coming up on this week's podcast? Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Tell us about these jobs in Sligo, because people will think I'm trying to brush over that, which I'm not.
Cyber security provider Advantio is to create 40 new jobs in Sligo over the next 3 years, as it sets up its European headquarters in the county. So it specialises in professional services, managed security solutions and software as a service, security and compliance solutions. The company, which was privately owned and set up in 2009, will be recruiting for full-time roles across a range of functions, including product management, security consulting, project management, customer services and HR teams.
All right, now we're going to find out if you paid attention in Irish class. What's coming up in this week's podcast?
On this week's Business Matters, Greg, I'll be talking to Irish Language Development Officer with Lena Litcher-Cannon, Barbara Ichahal, and Managing Director of Medea's Football Special, Seamus Butade. So next Tuesday, January the 25th, we'll see the Letterkenny launch of Gradam as the Irish Business Awards scheme designed to increase the visibility of Irish and encourage its use in business. Irish Language Development Officer with Lena Litcher-Cannon, Barbara Ichahal, is leading out on the scheme for the Cathedral Town, and she's hopeful of a good response from local businesses.
Gradam is a new Irish Business Awards scheme that's been launched by Glór na Gael. And really it's to encourage and enable businesses to increase the amount of Irish that they're using in their business. And so the idea of it is that businesses can go for a bronze, silver or gold award across any or all of 3 areas. So they might do it in terms of their signage, the signage outside the business, the signage inside the business. Or they might do it in terms of their branding and marketing. Or they might do it in terms of their customer service. So they can apply to be adjudicated on, as I say, any or all of those 3 areas of their business. And because it's bronze, silver and gold awards, it gives them the opportunity over a period of time to build on what they're doing. So you don't just go back to the beginning again whenever you move on to another award. You build on what you've already done. So it really is a step-by-step approach.
Okay, right. Now, you also mentioned that Seamus McDade's on the show.
Yeah, Seamus Butade is the 4th generation to head up Medea's Football Special in Ramelton. Seamus headed to Australia as a 20-year-old to work as an Australian rules agent. A year later, he moved to New York for what was supposed to be a summer, but his stay in the Big Apple lasted 8 years.
God, he only looks 20 now.
Seamus came back home in March 2019 and succeeded his father Edward at the helm of the family business, which also sells ice cream as well as soft drinks. Seamus explained how Football Special was created back in the 1950s.
My granduncle Eamon was sent away to learn about the soft drinks business. And one of the differences when he learned when he came back, when he was developing products, he was very methodical and scientific about how he did it. So mixing soft drinks is very similar to baking a cake. You put a bit of this and a bit of that in, but saying a bit of this and a bit of that is no good because you'll never get the same finish every time then. So he was methodical about it. And so they developed a drink, Football Special. At the same time, him, my granduncle Brendan and other people of that generation were heavily involved in the formation and playing with Swilly Rovers, who were very successful in the 50s and 60s. And they wanted to develop a drink that they could fill trophies with that was non-alcoholic. So they wanted to develop a drink that looked like a beer, that was frothy and foamy, and that had the texture and mouthfeel of a beer. and they came up with football specials. So we were the original low and no alcohol substitute beer that all these massive companies try and copy now.
And that is a really, really interesting story, which we can't get into now. But why would we? Because you can listen yourself on the podcast, available on our website, highlandradio.com, the all new and improved website. Go into the on-demand section. It's there, very easy to find for you now. You can also catch up on Spotify and on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast now. Both interviews in full, also broadcast on the radio on Sunday, Kieran?
Yeah, after 6 o'clock news, Greg.
Brilliant stuff. And anyone looking to get in touch with the show, drop an email to businessmatters@highlandradio.com. From me, Greg Hughes, Kieran O'Donnell, and Caroline O, who researched and produced. Enjoy the rest of your day, because we are out of here. Say goodbye, Kieran.
Good morning.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union.